I'm calling the meeting to order on March 20th, 2025. It is the school board action meeting for Pennsbury School District. Please stand for the presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, and thank you to the junior ROTC for coming and presenting the colors. Mr. Longo, can you please do the roll call?
Ms. Ahrens,
Here.
Dr. Delwich,
Present.
Mr. Kanan,
Here.
Mrs. Lamming,
Here.
Mrs. Palski,
Here.
Ms. Petrecco,
Present.
Dr. Steer,
Here.
Mr. Taylor,
Here.
Mr. Waldorf,
Present.
Mr. Ali, and Ms. Kanubati. 9 more board members present.
Thank you. So as our students start each day with a mindful minute, I would like to begin this meeting with a mindful minute. So please take a moment to find a comfortable position, whether you're seated or standing. Allow your gaze to soften. Connect with the floor through your feet. Feel present. And then bring your awareness to your breath. And just notice. On your next inhale, allow your breath to lengthen, breathing in long and slow. Pausing at the top of your inhale for a moment of stillness. And then allow your exhale to lengthen, gradually releasing your breath. Take 2 more slow, deep breaths at your own pace. Thank you for participating in this mindful minute. Mindfulness is a useful tool that anyone can use at any time to just slow down and be present. So thank you for sharing that with us today. I'd like to wish a happy spring to anyone who's observing the vernal equinox, or Nowruz, and Ramadan Mubarak to those who are observing Ramadan. If I missed any other important observances that are happening today, I apologize. I would like to take a moment at the beginning to set everyone's expectations for what's going to happen in our meeting this evening. Our meetings are broken into 3 sections. The first section is our welcome, our recognitions, and our reports, followed by public comment, which is the time for you, the public, to speak to the board. Each person who signs up for public comment will have an opportunity up to 90 minutes total. Each person will have 5 minutes to address the board directly. You can ask questions, you can make comments. We will not answer your questions or comments. That's your 5 minutes. Your 5 minutes to talk to us. After public comment is concluded, the business portion of the meeting follows, and that is our time to openly discuss anything that needs to happen for the work of the district. We ask that the audience be respectful and quiet so that the work of the district can continue. In the event of any disruptions, I will address the issue and ask for order to be maintained. If an individual or group of individuals continues to disrupt the work of the meeting after multiple reminders to be quiet, you will be asked to leave in an effort to allow the work of the board to continue for the benefit of the whole community. The board welcomes input of members of the public, including public comment. If you have more information that you'd like to impart to us, you can email the board or the administration or both directly. All of our email addresses can be found on the website. You may also attend future board meetings or committee meetings. They are also open to the public. As stated, disruptions are not going to be permitted. All that said, please remember that this is a working meeting. In order to have that be a productive meeting, it is important that everyone present and anyone who's watching online or reviewing the video later can hear what's being said by whoever is speaking at the microphone, whether it's one of these microphones or one of the microphones on the floor. So please, in advance, I ask for your consideration and for quiet while others are speaking. Tonight, the board met in executive session before the meeting to discuss potential litigation regarding district programming, litigation involving personal injury-based claims, personnel matters relating to the employment terms and conditions of support staff employees, and security protocols that, if discussed publicly, would compromise security. All that being said, we're going to begin this evening with a recognition of one of our physical education teachers, Mr. Tom Stoddard. For those of you who are not aware, his quick actions recently saved the life of a student. We are fortunate to have such an experienced staff member with life-saving skills on site. Thank you, Mr. Stoddard. Your quick actions were invaluable. I would also be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge the other physical education faculty and team who were there and helped coordinate getting all of the other students out of and inside. So thank you to all of our physical education staff. Next, we have our Lift Character Awards. Mr. Sanderson and Mr. and Mrs. Cacciatore, if you could please come forward to the microphone.
That's for you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Steer. Tonight we are recognizing this month's character asset, safety. The students receiving the LIFT Award for Safety place a high value on the well-being of themselves and others. They are mindful of current or potential hazards in the environment and bring these to the attention of those in positions of authority. They demonstrate good decision-making skills in avoiding potential dangerous situations and often have ideas about how to improve safety. They might participate in one or more school or community-based activities designated to ensure safety of others. Each nomination we receive highlighted a student who exemplifies this trait on a daily basis, which made it very difficult to choose just 4. We'd like to thank principals and staff members who took the time to nominate a student this month. I will now pass it on to the cacciatories to present their awards.
Thank you, Mr. Sanderson. Connor Kastner is a second grade student at Afton Elementary School, was nominated by Stephanie Reither, Laura Goger, Kristen Slota, Ryan Sedano, Trish Basher, Evan Moyle, Vicky Apreciano, and Beth Vittori. They share that Kevin is a model student who consistently demonstrates proper and safe behavior throughout the school day. Not only follows safety expectations, but also sets a positive example for his peers. During school fire drills, Connor remains calm, silent, attentive, while walking with his class to the to the designated meeting spot. His ability to follow instructions, that he is prepared to respond appropriately in any situation. In art and spark, Connor carefully uses tools such as scissors, cardboard cutters, and glue, always prioritizing safety in PE. He follows all safety guidelines, wears appropriate footwear, and uses equipment responsibly. Connor consistently applies the safety procedures taught by his teachers in all school settings, reinforcing his commitment to maintaining a secure environment for himself and others. Congratulations, Connor. Yeah, okay. Kinley Miller is a 5th grader student at Fallsington Elementary School and was nominated by Megan Mock, Terry Behrman, Jennifer Tees, Kristen Cahill, and Vinnie DePaula. They shared that Kinley has been a shining star this year as a school safety. Not only does she take her job seriously, but she also is sure to report both positive situations and also notes her concerns. A few months ago, Kinley went above and beyond her call of duty and remained with the younger student who had missed their stop on the school bus. Kinley was assisting with the younger student, helping them to keep them calm as it was the first week on the bus. She alerted the bus driver that the student needed assistance and that they both missed their stop. Without Kinley's quick thinking, the student may have not gotten the help she needed. She put another student before herself and remained calm, composed throughout the situation. Kinley is a great role model for students. Congratulations, Kinley.
McKenna Steigerwald is an 8th grader at William Penn Middle School and was nominated by Sherry Lynn Cooker and Stephanie Chiatis. They share that as a cheerleader, McKenna values safety and understands the importance of proper training and preparation. McKenna is a responsible cheerleader who ensures that she and her teammates practice only under their coach's supervision, ensure that they are using proper spotting techniques, and that they complete a proper warm-up at the start of practice. By consistently reinforcing these safety measures, she helps prevent injuries and maintains a safe training environment. This level of awareness and leadership helps foster a supportive and safety-conscious team atmosphere. McKenna understands safety plays a crucial role in protecting herself and her teammates from injury while promoting a culture of awareness and responsibility. Congratulations, McKenna. Olivia Klump is a senior at Pennsbury High School and was nominated by Pete Cienko, Frank McSherry, and Dave Murphy. They share that as a member of the softball team, Olivia consistently wears the necessary safety gear during every game and practice. She takes the time to double-check that her teammates are also properly equipped, reinforcing the importance of preventing injuries. Olivia is known for promoting safe play on the field through dependable communication with her teammates. During a game, Olivia was quick to act when a teammate got injured. She immediately signaled for help, followed the appropriate first aid protocols, and helped guide the injured player off the field. Her calm and responsible actions helped ensure the safety and well-being of her teammate. Congratulations, Olivia. Let's have one more round of applause to congratulate all of our Pennsbury Lift Character Award winners.
Thank you, and congratulations to you all. It is time that I would like to invite the Manor Elementary students to come forward and share what is special about their school. Do we need more?
Hello, my name is Zayden.
And my name is Aubrey.
And mine's Gloria.
And mine is Zachary.
And mine is Liam.
And Addison is Manor Max. Come and explore Manor with us.
Meet our captains. This journey through learning, Miss Salvucci was our principal, but she decided to explore whole new worlds. So in January, we were lucky to get Miss McCormick Miller to lead our crew.
Come see what we are doing in our galactic gatherings. We have more than learning happening at Manor. We have things like our Character in Action CIA Assembly, where we celebrate those that show respect, responsibility, and safety. We also recognize those that show specific traits like kindness and fairness on maxed out days. In addition to the daily golden tickets they can earn for Manor strong behavior.
We rocked the universe with our Holiday Sing event. Every student receives a bag of books and riffs sponsored by Amazon and raised money for FTK for the kids. These events are not only fun but helps others too.
Other out-of-this-world assemblies were Yellowbirds, who taught our kindergartners how to be safe on the bus, Planet Earth that showed us about our world, and a visit from the Harlem Wizards to get us excited about big fundraising game against the teachers.
Music is a big part at Manor, and we love when the Men of Harmony join us during the holidays. On St. Patrick's Day, we had a concert by Cello Fury.
We have many cosmic crews throughout the building. We have chorus and safeties and the National Elementary Honor Society, to name a few.
Green Team makes sure we know how to take care of our planet and recycle correctly. Connects Cub meets at lunch recess to take on building challenges, and we even have after-school enrichment.
We have so many fun things happening at Manor PTO. Events like dances, fundraisers, skating parties, craft nights, and movies. Trunk or treat is always a favorite with pumpkin decorating contest.
We love spirit days too, like Crazy Sock Day or wear Eagles or Phillies gear. Crazy hair is always a fun time. NEHS recently sponsored a Lucky Charms breakfast to raise money for kids who lost everything in a natural disaster. 5th grade had a historical figure wax museum, and the whole school got to visit. We learned so much.
Sports team events are amazing, like Turkey Bowl and Field Day. We also love to have dance parties whenever we can. A big event in the spring is our ice cream social, art show, book fair night. The art lines the halls for days. This year, the theme was circus animals.
Other fun events are 3rd grade caroling in the neighborhood, trunk or treat, and the sneaker ball.
We have wonderful teachers and staff members that help us with everything from classwork to extra events.
Sharing our hopes, dreams, and celebrations helps us become 20th century learners. We focus on learning math, reading, science, and social studies. But that isn't the only thing that makes Manor Manor. It's the people that make Manor successful. From the principal, teachers, paraprofessionals, to the custodians. We all work together to learn to be respectful, responsible, and safe learners.
We would like to end by sharing our Manor Pledge. Thank you for allowing us to be here today to show all the great things about Manor. Today at Manor Elementary School, I have been given a new day and a new beginning. The me you see is the me I'll be. I will be respectful, responsible, and safe. I will be a problem solver and an achiever. I will stand up for all that is true. I will show acts of kindness in everything I do. I was born to make a difference in a world that needs my help, but before I help improve this world, I must improve myself. Every time I make a mistake, I will try to right my wrong. Today and every day, I pledge to be Manor strong.
Gigi, can you put it back? I don't know how. Wait, you're just going through the back. Thank you. That was a great presentation. Normally, we would have our high school presentations at this point, but both of our high school representatives are at a debate tournament tonight, so their reports will be posted online, but they're not here to give them in person. Dr. Smith?
All right. Thank you very much. Those of you who have been around have seen this slide before. This is part of our comprehensive plan. We've identified 5 areas of focus for our district to help us move forward. Tonight we're going to have another presentation, actually 2 presentations this evening. First is going to be our friends from the high school, really talking about their efforts to improve the climate and culture, and a little bit later Dr. Brown and Dr. Ricci are going to share our work on the middle school level to talk about changes to our instructional practices. So I'm going to call up our friends from the high school. To give us updates from the high school, we have Mr. Meadows, campus principal, Ryan Regensburg, assistant principal West, and Mr. Patrick Balser, the climate and culture specialist.
All right, good evening, and thank you for having us. Tonight, we're happy to be here, just talk about some of the things that have been happening at Pennsbury High School. And I said, this is one of my favorite nights of the year, March Madness, so hopefully you get to watch some games this weekend. So, starting at the end of the 22-23 school year, the administrative team really wanted to have a focus on climate and culture in the high school, and that was something that we really wanted to look at from a staff and a student standpoint. One thing for the students is we wanted to figure out ways we can get feedback. When we were talking with students, some of the things that we heard is that they just felt that there weren't ways for them to engage administration on things that were important to them. Same thing with the staff. We wanted to be deliberate in terms of having dialogue with them. And one of the ways that we wanted to do this is, and I'm going to take a little bit more time on this right now, is that we started having regular roundtable discussions where twice a month we have times where we're able to meet with staff and just really have an honest dialogue about what's going on and try to problem solve things that are going on. Second of all, we meet regularly with our leaders from PEA. Once again, we're looking to try to proactively solve some things that are going on in the building. Really, the goal of this is to try to get to what we say is 80% proactive, 20% reactive. And I said jokingly, I think we were very good at reacting to things. When something happened, we had a plan and we went and we fixed it. But we started to say, what can we do to be more proactive? And that was kind of the mindset that we had going into that 23-24 school year. So one of the things I really want to emphasize here is student feedback that we had going on. So the first thing that we did is we set up the Principal Superintendent Student Advisory Committee. Now that's a mouthful, so we refer to that as PSAC, just use the abbreviations, and we formed that at the start of the 23-24 school year. Right now we have about 30 students that are grades 9 through 12, and we meet with them regularly. So this is the same group of students. We get together once a month and we talk about issues going on at the high school. We also have our lead assistant principals, they attend that, and then the assistant superintendents. And we do tell them they are chained to us. We want them to be with us until they graduate, and we've been fortunate because it just sets some consistency with that group. With PSAC, there is a planned agenda. So we go in there, we talk about things that we want to talk about relating to whether it be climate and culture, or even some of the bigger things going on in the school. But at the end, we give them time to talk about, just bring up any topics that are important to them, and we usually end the meeting with that. We also decided, hey, that's only 20 to 30 students that we're meeting with regularly. We have 2,800 students in the building. So what we did is we set up what we call classroom visits. We have those about 8 to 10 times per semester, and they're also the same group of building and district administrators attend this. So you can see the picture here, Dr. Smith and I, and one of the ones from last year. Teachers fill out a form where they ask us to go visit their class, and then we go through. And what I do is I deliberately try to have a mix. I don't want it to be all seniors. I don't want it to be all freshmen. So we really try to get a good mix of grades and academic levels, so we're getting a lot of feedback and a lot of different views coming in from the students. With this, there is no agenda. We go in and we say, hey, what's on your mind? Sometimes it can be a little tough to get something out of them, especially if it's first period and they're just waking up and everything else. However, once they get going, Dr. Smith and I joke around about this, they give it to us. They tell us, you need to do a better job with this, or they really want us to hear what's on their mind. And same thing with PSAC, but I think with these classroom visits, they really want to tell us what's on their mind, and they don't hold back. And I think that's a good thing, and we encourage that. We said, if you think we need to do something better, tell us, because we want to do better. And that's one of the things I think that has been a good dynamic about these meetings. In both cases, there's meaningful dialogue. I think that we have had some really good talks about things that are happening in the school. In some cases, we fix things like that day. If they were saying, hey, this is going on, were you aware of it? If we weren't aware of it, we go and we fix it that day. Some things are very easy. Other things aren't as easy, where it might take a little bit more time, or they're just things that cannot be fixed. But we want to make sure that we're giving them that outlet to have direct dialogue with administration. I think it's something that's been very positive in setting a positive tone in the building. Just an example, and this is not an exhaustive list at all, but some of the things that we looked at were Falcon period. There's been a lot of talk and dialogue about that, how we do that. Cell phones, security, cafeteria food, that's a big one because they like their food. So, but we go through and we talk about those different topics that we're having discussions about. The last thing I want to touch on before I wrap up, then I'll be coming back at the end, is administrative presence. We really made a big deal over the last 2 years, especially, about having our administrators be visible on the path, in the hallways, and the cafeterias. The one thing that I like about this is also a chance for us to informally check in on students, or have students make connections with them. There are times I'm in the hallway at my standing desk or whatever else, and a student will come up and ask me a question. I've always said, hey, come to my office if you have a question. Do you know how many students took me up on that? Not many. They're not going to walk into the office and say, let me talk to you. They see me in the hallway, they're more likely to have a conversation or something along those lines, and that's with a lot of the administrators. Once again, the goal is to be proactive, not reactive. We have in the next slide just different pictures of what I said. In some of these you can't see all that well, but I do want to put one thing in there. These are all the administrators and management assistants in the hallway. Also a cameo by Boz, the therapy dog. But every administrator, management assistant has a standing desk. you will frequently see someone in the hallway on a standing desk. They're just, instead of sitting in the office, maybe answering emails, they're on a standing desk in the hallway answering emails. But that's it, once again, a chance to be in the hallways, to have presence, and also have conversations and connections with students when we see them. So it's something that I think it's a culmination of a lot of things, but I think there has been some positive results out of this. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Regensburg.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share some proactive supports Pennsbury High School has implemented alongside campus principal Mr. Meadows and Mr. Bowser, Pennsbury High School's climate and culture specialist. So to elaborate on presence, Pennsbury High School has transitioned from a school aid model to a dedicated security team. To enhance this shift, the supervisor of safety and security, Mr. Chris Carlini, has provided leadership, coordination, and training along with Lori Ruffing. Our security team has undergone job-specific training while prioritizing alignment with district initiatives like Positive Behavior Intervention and Support System, also known as PBIS. And this team isn't just present in the hallways. They are active participants. They are building relationships with students. And to further enhance safety, we had also updated our security camera system at PHS West and across the path. These upgrades have provided us with better monitoring capabilities. So keep the peace. We have rebranded what we have formerly known as the Peace Challenge into Keep the Peace at PHS. P stands for prioritize safety, H stands for have respect for self and others, and S stands for strive for success. Much like we heard from the Manor students, this is our school-wide PBIS multi-tiered framework. And a key part of this initiative is our digital acknowledgement system, similar to the SOAR cards, caught being good ticket, and also the golden ticket. And it allows staff to recognize students who demonstrate expected behaviors daily. The next slide will show you our participation from faculty and staff members. Their engagement has grown. In the first marking period just this year, we had 113 faculty and staff members issue over 1,400 peace points to over 1,000 students. And in the second marking period, participation increased again with 129 faculty and staff members issuing more than 2,000 peace points to over 1,100 students. For reference, we only issued 450 acknowledgements in terms of a formal way just 2 years ago. So we have grown since then, and we're really proud of that. The data shows that there is growing engagement of recognition and also in reinforcement. One of the ways that we celebrate this ongoing engagement is Keep the Peace Wednesday, which occurs on the first Wednesday of each month. On these days, staff and also students wear peace shirts or falcon gear. They acknowledge one another, and students with the highest number of peace points receive, along with some selected through random selection, small gifts and rewards on behalf of our Keep the Peace team. We also make sure we leverage the nutrition group as well, just like as Mr. Meadows has mentioned in terms of food. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Pat Bowser, our climate and culture specialist, and our Keep the Peace core team for their continued support for this initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Regensburg. I'm grateful to be part of this important work. This first slide up here shows the incentive structure that we've developed at the high school since I arrived in late October. As you can see, we started by incentivizing just behavior through peace points, and also the teachers that recognize the students for, displaying those expected behaviors. But since then, we've grown to the point where we're not only acknowledging behavior, but we're also acknowledging attendance, both on a classroom level and an individual level. We've been lucky enough to have some support from some community partners like Raising Cane's, Fusion Gym, and Pliables. They're kind of supporting our incentives there. This next slide up here it shows a couple of our Peace Point Challenge winners as well as some of our attendance standouts. We're just trying to really set the occasion for kids to make the right decision for them to be in school and in the locations where they're supposed to be. Our efforts don't stop there. We're bringing back the tradition of Falcon Fridays at PHS, where all staff and students are encouraged to dress in their black and orange Falcon gear each Friday. Mrs. McDaniel's first period most class had 100% participation last week, so they were the class that won the breakfast treat from the nutrition group that week. And then lastly, perhaps most importantly, we've developed a strong Keep the Peace at PHS student leadership team. We have nearly 40 members across all 4 grades. These students participate in regular restorative circles that are designed to enhance their leadership skills. They support the climate and culture in the building by modeling expected behaviors, sharing social media posts, nominating their peers for peace points, and supporting the facilitation of restorative circles throughout the building.
Another structure that we have is NEST, also known as Falcon Period. It's an essential part of our student support framework. Every Tuesday and Thursday for 40 minutes, students engage in advisory and academic success initiatives. On Tuesdays, NEST Advisory focuses on keeping the peace lessons as well as college and career readiness. And on Thursdays, NEST Academic provides students with targeted academic support and intervention. In addition to our school-wide supports, we have structured interventions for students who need additional assistance. Our grade level and advanced tiers teams meet every other week to identify students in need of Tier 2 or Tier 3 interventions. These teams consist of a range of specialists, including administrators, counselors, psychologists, related services, and other providers to ensure a comprehensive approach to support our students. So far, our advanced tiers teams have closed out 54 cases. They tracked interventions for 260 Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, and this level of intervention tracking allows us to provide the necessary supports to students who need it most. And we'd also like to recognize Mrs. Stephanie Pratt. She is our PHS MTSS coordinator for her leadership in this area.
So as we conclude, it's just trying to figure out, is this working? And one of the things that we did at the end of the semester, we looked at our informal hearing data. You receive an informal hearing, really, if you have a 3-day suspension, 2 or 3-day suspension for fighting weapons, drugs, or anything else what I say is egregious misconduct. If you look at the graph here, last year we were at 56 at the end of January. This year we are at 20, which was a dramatic decrease, and it's something that we were very proud of as an administrative team. We were proud of the students, most importantly, because they're the ones who are demonstrating these behaviors. Also proud of our staff for really helping to reinforce this in the classroom. And we wanted to take, at least at the end of the semester, time to celebrate this, because this is something that is, we've had a lot of issues with discipline, and not saying that this is over, because I always say jokingly, we're on a razor's edge with this. This could change at a moment. But even when I was looking at things before I came over here, we're still, even at this point, I think we were at 77 a year ago today of informal hearings, and we're at 33 now. We have a few next week, so that's going to be adding to it. But overall, I also want to emphasize, we're still enforcing discipline. If there are certain things that are happening, there is absolutely discipline. And what I say, those are kind of some of the non-negotiables. The fighting, the weapons, the drugs, that's something that we take very seriously, and we make sure that there is discipline associated with that. But luckily, it has been down. And really, if you look at this, that's a 60% decrease from last year to this year. So it's something, like I said, that we're very proud of, and that we're thankful for the community, and really all of the work that's that's happening in levels K to 8, that's filtering up, and we think that needs to be acknowledged also. I don't think it's one single thing, because I think some people say, well, what is it? I think it's a multitude of things kind of coming together. So with that being said, we're finished. I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
That was great news. Do you have a question or comment, Josh?
Yeah, I have one question. So my only question is, how are the students selected to be on the principals and superintendent committee? Or is it,
So what we did when it was initially, we went to the guidance counselors, because or the school counselors, they're the ones who knew the students. We did ask for some characteristics that we're looking for, because I think previously it was just, is it someone that has good grades, or someone who's really involved? We really wanted to try to get a cross-section. I think the one thing that we're looking for mostly is people that are vocal, people that are going to speak up, that are going to be representatives, because we do tell them, you're representing the students, so when you're going to lunch or going to your class or your team or whatever, talk to them about it, bring it back. So that's one of the things that we're really looking at. I think the school counselors did an excellent job of giving us a nice cross-section of students from Pennsbury.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and to let the public know that this is a big focus in our wellness committee, and these gentlemen have been to our committee and have given presentations, so we want to support their work. Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving on with our presentations, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Christopher Brown, Assistant Superintendent for Administration, and Dr. Terry Ricci, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, to review the middle school schedule changes.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Last school year, our middle school schedule committee began meeting with the charge of reviewing the middle school schedule and recommending changes that would improve the delivery of instruction and providing student agency in the instructional process. So this came about for a few main reasons. First, there was the change in school start time. Second, we've previously in this forum heard presentations about academic achievement on the middle school campus, and in an effort to improve our ability to support students academically, these discussions were necessary. And third, based on feedback from staff, students, and parents about the current schedule. So I'll transition to Dr. Ricci, who will talk about the goals of our committee.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I apologize, I just need 1 second. My presentation's not coming up. Okay, I got my internet back, thank you. So we had several goals going into the middle school schedule change process. I just want to make sure everybody is aware that these were changes that were asked to be made because there were some difficulties in operating our schedule. So the first reason for convening the group was really the most obvious one, and that is we're going to have a change of start time at our middle school level. So it was really a question of bringing together our staff so that we could understand how the periods would be different and where our school times would start and end and how that would impact our academic program. The second goal was incredibly important, especially to me, and it was to increase our time on reading English language arts instruction in the 8th grade. So up until this school year, we had a 39-minute period for English, and that went all year, and a reading program that went for half the year for about 39 minutes. So this REALA block was extremely important because it gave our 8th grade students an opportunity to participate in 80 solid minutes of reading English language arts instruction throughout the entire school year, which is on par with what happens in 6th and 7th grade. Next, we wanted to look at our world language program and identify whether there were some opportunities to expand the program, to make it more robust in some way. So we looked at whether we could incorporate something different in our world language program. In addition, we established a dedicated we wanted to establish a dedicated intervention and enrichment period at the middle school level, one that did not exist before. Our opportunity period was really used in a number of different ways with lots of competing objectives during that time. It's only a 30-minute period, and there was a lot of competing priorities for that time period. That included music, interventions, support from teachers, activities, meeting at that time, building level initiatives, things like that. Lots of competing goals. And we wanted to make sure that we could deliver our MTSS program with the fidelity that we knew we needed to deliver for our students so they could get the best quality academic program. And we wanted to ensure that our music program stayed intact. That was a goal that we established from the beginning. We did not want any changes to the schedule to impact our music program in a negative way. The final goal was to incorporate the new STEELS standards into our program. So the STEELS standards include engineering and environmental science, unlike the previous core standards in science. So we wanted to ensure that there was enough opportunity to incorporate all of those topics. So we knew that we needed to increase our time in STEM in order to incorporate those additional standards. And I do want to point out that the PSSA for 8th grade is going to be very different in the coming school year than it was in the past school year, and that informs our standards at the middle school level and the elementary school level. So just to give you that piece of information, that was an important piece for us as well, is to make sure that we're hitting the standards and preparing our students for what they need to know before they finish 8th grade.
So as I mentioned previously, the committee began meeting last school year in May, and this work was ongoing, involving many stakeholders. So across the district, teachers on the middle school campus, administrators, district administrators, parents, students. These meetings occurred monthly. You can see the schedule is listed there on the timeline. So beyond the monthly meetings, the committee work was set to conclude in January. So in January, the full middle school staff was informed of the changes, and feedback loops were initiated through each principal at the building level. A summary of those changes was presented in January at the Board of Education Committee meeting, which accompanied the revised program of studies. So in February, a large-scale communication went out to parents and families explaining student elective choices that resulted from the schedule change. And after that, the course elective window opened for students to make their choices. And when that period closed, the campus administrative team had planned to analyze the results of those selections before moving forward in March. Dr. Smith, you can advance. So on the screen now, what you'll see for context is a current schedule of an 8th grade student. And on the next slide, I'll show you a sample of what a revised schedule would look like, and I'll highlight the changes. So if you advance to the next slide, first what you can see highlighted in yellow, in red to the left of the screen are the adjusted times of day for the periods. But beyond that, you'll be able to see the RELA block that Dr. Ricci mentioned, which becomes a full block. So that becoming a full block removed for 8th grade students critical literacy and removed world language, because that was what the rest of that period was split with. Underneath of that, you'll see the opportunity period, which, as Dr. Ricci mentioned, was the opportunity for intervention and enrichment. That's going to be a 6-day cycle. Beyond that, what you'll see, presently in the current opportunity period, what's different in this version of the schedule, there are no enrichment opportunities provided, and students only receive academic interventions 2 times a week. But by establishing a dedicated intervention period, students have opportunities now not only for academic support, but also for enrichment opportunities, so meaning they'll have an opportunity to explore enrichment areas across all subject areas. What you'll see here also, so the Steele's standards changed the STEM course, which previously had STEM A, B, C, and health was included in STEM. That is now included in the physical education period. So health and phys ed are now combined into one course. And lastly, at the bottom, the electives, which previously, prior to this, there were no choices made because there were four elective courses that students took on a rotating basis. There's more than 4 now because world language and music ensembles went into that rotation, and as a result, they had to choose. So every other day for the course of the year, students could have up to 4 courses. On this slide, you'll see a summary of the changes that I described previously. So no need to really go through this in tremendous detail. But what I will highlight there under item number 4 is that chorus was originally scheduled to be an elective, like band and orchestra, the other ensembles. However, after the course elective selection window, it became clear to the campus administrative team that participation in chorus declined sharply in contrast to all of our other subject areas. So participation in the music program did remain consistent across the campus, both in band and orchestra. So as a result of that, we made a shift after the analysis to include chorus in the opportunity period. So for 1 day of the opportunity period out of the 6-day rotation. And again, because of that, participation was consistent in band and orchestra across the Board of Education meeting. We did discuss that we would open the selection window for students we would open the selection window and continue to evaluate the impact of the selections after they changed. And there are students now who take both band or orchestra and chorus, and those students would not have had the opportunity to take any other elective courses in this model. And that, again, is another reason why we made a change to enable now more students to have access to additional electives. You can advance, Dr. Smith. So finally, after that revision period, what you'll see here is that for chorus, it has moved into the opportunity period. So one of the 6 days, students in the vocal music ensembles have an opportunity for one after-school rehearsal per month. Additionally, lessons were added in for this group, and also enrichment opportunities. So missing from the schedule is, I mentioned enrichment opportunities in the area of academics, but enrichment opportunities can also be in the area of arts and music and elective courses as well. So what that means is there were 290 students across the campus who enrolled in the vocal music ensemble, and they'll get a chance to pick 2 other electives, which now is going to add 580 selections to the other course areas. Additionally, when we started this, the world language, we anticipated that we would not be able to provide world language in the manner that we do right now. So presently, it's a survey course with French, Spanish, and German being provided at each of the 3 middle schools on a rotating basis. But because now it's going to expand outside of 8th grade and into 6th and 7th, we anticipated only being able to provide 1 language per middle school building on a rotating yearly basis. After the selections were made and we did analyze, we determined that we would be able to continue our present model, so rotating French, Spanish, and German at all 3 buildings for all 3 grade levels. So we do have the ability to do that. So that change has reverted back to the way that it was, and the world language is going to be offered continually on a survey basis. So with that, I'll turn the program back over to Dr. Smith unless there are any questions for us.
Does the board have any questions?
As Dr. Brown mentioned, it did come through the Education Committee a couple of times, and we asked some of the concerning questions. Part of the world language program, the positive change in this is that students potentially could have level 1 by the time they're in 8th grade. Can you speak more to that, Dr. Brown?
Yeah, so the ultimate goal of the committee was to create a pathway for students to get level 1 language instruction, meaning a high school equivalency course, before they left middle school. So under the new model, with students having access to world language in both 6th and 7th grades, as you advance through those, the next stage in the curricular development is the implementation of a level 1 course at the middle school, on the middle school campus, which would enable students to get to a higher level of world language in high school, should they choose.
And the opportunity for them to still participate was in music and chorus was important to the Education Committee members. All of our children had been through those programs and thrived, so we recognize the importance that those opportunities have for children, but also we're trying to listen to the feedback of the administration about how to balance that with the educational needs that our kids are facing at the middle school. In looking forward to the STEEL standards and the 8th grade PSSA, it was really important to find that balance where we could support our kids while still enrich them with the other opportunities.
Yeah, the enrichment is something that doesn't exist now. So the opportunity for students to seek general academic support, challenging, enriching support, and or in other subject areas was a desire for many of our staff members. And now in this present model of a schedule, we have the ability to do that.
And finally, I think my last comment will be, we're all nervous about this change happening, right? But there are measures put in place to change or addend the different courses if we need to next year after seeing how it plays out.
So we continually look at, how the selections work, how enrollment plays out, and additionally for students, the selection window was reopened. It's open now until next Wednesday. We need to do that because in Mass we have to build a schedule. But once the schedule is built, there's still opportunities. So if a student changes their mind in May, It's not as if the decisions they make in March are locked in stone and they can't change. It becomes a little bit more difficult once a schedule is built, because now you're looking at limitations based on staffing, but still the ability to facilitate change exists. We just couldn't do that en masse. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to build a schedule. So we have to start by building a schedule, and then there's change opportunities. But back to your point about evaluating, we're always going to continue to evaluate the model of our service delivery.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Dr. Ricci.
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
On the enrichments for students who don't need any academic assistance that are thriving, what kind of opportunities do they have in enrichment beyond that?
So presently, they don't have any, but moving forward, there's a team on the middle school campus who's working to design a model where, that would include gifted support, that would include opportunities. If I was on the cusp, we've talked a lot about students, trying to challenge students to get into AP, pre-AP, advanced courses, to see a teacher to work on skill development, maybe that I don't need because I'm not doing well, but I could use to help me advance to the next level. Additionally, we're working on ways to incorporate non-academic areas. So for example, your electives, if I wanted to go back and see a teacher finish a project, which presently, again, doesn't really exist in that structure, those could be enriching. If I wanted to do additional skill development in art, music, you name it, that's the goal of what we're trying to build. So it's not the exact replica of the opportunity period that exists. They're redesigning the whole thing.
So, but there would be, if a student so chose, they could do more enrichment in any of the music directions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one more, on a practical note then, did this presentation answer all the questions that were coming out in the emails from the parents and their concerns?
I think we tried to.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one more question. I think I'm understanding it correctly about the opportunity period now, the way it's been restructured a little bit. So the chorus teacher could continue, if they wanted to have an extra rehearsal during that time. They're not limited to just that one period, right? Those OP enrichment times, the teachers could choose to have an extra class, or, I don't know, FCS could have an extra.
There's going to be one scheduled rehearsal. So outside of that, students will have the agency to choose, kind of the degree to which they want to pursue enrichment. So as a teacher, if I say I'm available for this enrichment opportunity, the students will have the agency to decide if they want to do that or not. So that's why we wouldn't necessarily call it a full rehearsal, because we can't compel that attendance, but the ability to provide enriching activities exists.
Do you mind if I just add something to Dr. Brown's statement? I do want to add that currently in our model, it is if a student needs academic support or intervention, they will miss a day of chorus or instrumental music if they happen to have, if they coincide and they're on the same day. So right now, our model looks like that for students who may require some remediation or some intervention. And that's the way that we've been able to kind of parse out the opportunity period time. It's not clean, but it offers students the opportunity to say, well, I have to go to my, to my reading intervention. I'm going to miss chorus. And our music staff has been very, very gracious about allowing students to participate in those academic interventions, and that is part of their schedule today. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware that that is part of what we do right now to meet the needs of our students. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Ricci and Dr. Brown. Dr. Smith?
Just concluding my update, just some final reminders. Internet safety presentation for parents will take place on Monday. The provider unfortunately won't live stream, so this is an in-person event for Monday evening. You'll get a letter reminder tomorrow about that. It's for parents and students 5th grade and up with that. Important presentation, I think, as parents we're all dealing with the internet and students getting into situations where they might not be appropriate for them, and this gives you some tangible tools to address that. Also, you've heard it before, I'll say it again, start times are changing for next year. High school starts at 8:15, ends at 2:58, middle school 7:35, ends at 2:20, elementary school stays the same. And that's the conclusion of our update for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Mr. Taylor, do you have a Bucks County Technical High School Joint Board report?
I do. Bucks County Technical High School Board met on March 11th. It was a very short meeting, but one of the major standouts is we approved a repaving project for the entire facility and a lot of the sidewalks that are in pretty bad disrepair. And that is through a grant. So it's funded by the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority put out a application for a grant which got approved. So that's going, and very grateful for that. It's much needed. We're continuing to work through support staff negotiations, hoping to conclude that this month. And that pretty much concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Waldorf, do you have a Bucks County Intermediate Unit
Yes,
Board
Dr.
report?
Steer, I do. The Bucks County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors met on March 18th. I attended virtually to ensure that there was a quorum of 8, so we could pass all of the amendments. We had 4 presentations. Mally presented the findings of the annual audit. The special education team presented the results of the Grow Your Own Teacher program and its first cohort of 6 participants. The programs and services team presented efforts to support gifted education for all of the local education agencies with support for our particular programs. The HR department presented on its data-driven efforts to successfully retain and recruit staff. For the legislative report, as many of you may already know, Dr. Carrie Rowe is now the acting Secretary of Education for the state of Pennsylvania. We also heard the Auditor General's report that released on the cyber charter schools. I want to differentiate between brick and mortar, and found that their revenues increased because there's not strong regulation. In the past couple of years, their revenues have exceeded in savings, in the reserves. They have $425 million, which have grown 144%. And this surge is attributed to the funding formula based on tuitions on school districts' budgets rather than the actual education costs, and minimal spending guidelines and no reserve limits. So both houses of the legislature are ready to take on serious cyber charter reform this spring, which is finally it's about time. And would like to celebrate all of our social workers, because March is Social Work Month. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Lamming, do you have an Education Committee report?
I do, but before I read the report, I just wanted to comment. At the past 2, at the January and February meeting, we did hear about the middle school changes. You can access those recordings if you want to hear the discussion and how things were presented. There were multiple stakeholders at both of those meetings, some teachers, some parents. So if you'd like to follow up and have more questions about that, Dr. Ricci and Dr. Brown have been very responsive to all of our questions and concerns. So that, I believe, is on the district website, the recordings of those meetings. But at our most recent meeting on February 27th, there were 4 presentations. The first was on the topic of iPads and instruction. This presentation provided information about how iPads may be a beneficial tool for students as one-to-one devices in the future. The limitations of Chromebooks were discussed, as well as the enhancements to security, breakage, accessibility, and the embedded tools that are available in iPads. The proposal is to conduct a small pilot with first grade only. Those students would receive an iPad rather than a Chromebook in the typical refresh cycle. The second presentation was the Quarter 2 data review provided by Dr. Aldridge, the Director of Assessment, Accountability, and Data. The presentation included information about academic and behavior, performance, and progress. Next, Dr. Aldridge provided a demonstration of the analytics and insights software product that the district has been working to implement since it was initially acquired in late October. This Power School product will provide our administrative and professional staff with easy access to student data and analytics, especially critical to the MTSS process. And that was really cool. I think we all appreciated, seeing that in action after, having made the motion to make sure that we could include that as part of the data. It was really interesting how they could isolate a lot of the different demographics to enhance student outreach and teacher accessibility so that they could really hone in on helping students with what they needed. The final presentation was conducted by Ms. Swanson, the coordinator of Science and Spark in the district. She provided information about how the district will implement the new STEELS standards, incorporating additional standards in engineering, manufacturing, and environmental studies. Dr. Bloom, the Director of Special Education, provided a summary of the special education plan, which will be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education for consideration and approval. This plan will be posted for public review and will be on the board action agenda in April. This evening, the following action items are on the agenda. We reviewed them at the meeting in Section 5 for consideration and approval this evening. Item A is the AFJROTC Memorandum of Agreement. Its expiration and renewal, which will expire in 2027. Letter B is PASBO, the annual conference, a request for one member of the Transportation Department to attend the conference to accept an award for service. Congratulations. Item C is the Penn SPRA Annual Symposium, a request for the Supervisor of Communications to attend this annual conference. Item D is the trip to Germany and the Alps Study Abroad Tour. We did originally approve the request in 2023. Item it needs to be revised due to excessive travel costs, which would impact the students and families. And finally, Item E is the TED Talk Live Conference, a request for our IT Director to attend this PA Tech Conference. Item F is the Benchmark Education Company. That's our decodables to be utilized in English Learning Development Program at the elementary level throughout the district. And item G is the New Balance National Indoor Track Meet. This was initially a request for 2 relay teams to participate in the national competition. However, that has been withdrawn and has replaced with a request for 1 student to participate. That concludes my update.
Thank you. Mrs. Polsky, do you have a Facilities Committee report?
Yes, ma'am. The Facilities Committee met on Monday, March 3rd in the Superintendent's Conference Room. The Facilities Committee viewed a presentation from the Oxford Valley Elementary School Garden Committee. They are looking to build a school garden in an underutilized exterior space behind the school adjacent to the band room. Although it's still early in the planning phases, the presentation outlined the benefits, possibilities of incorporating the garden into a learning environment. This is a very exciting project headed up by Mr. Sanderson. CHA Dewey Consulting provided a capital projects update presentation, which included an update of the Charles Bame Middle School renovations, high school stadium concession buildings, Pennsbury High Stadium second synthetic turf field project, administration server room upgrade project, and the 2025 security camera projects. CHA
Can I have quiet in the audience so that everybody can hear the speaker? Thank you.
CHA stated that the remaining punch list items will be completed after students leave for summer break, and the Phase 5 auditorium renovation work has started with early electrical work having begun on a second shift basis. Phase 5 is scheduled to be completed during the summer of 2025. The stadium concession buildings, and this is good news, received the final inspections on March 3rd. The district now has full use of the stadium buildings. Submittal for the second synthetic turf field have begun, and permit applications were submitted to the township. CHA reported that it still looks good for a project start of March 31st with final completion by August of 2025. CHA also noted that they have started shop drawing reviews for the administration server room upgrades and have asked for contractor verification of delivery dates for electrical and mechanical equipment. The 2025 security camera projects are currently out to bid with a revised bid date of March 18th, 2025. Mr. Strohecker of KCBA Architects briefed the Facilities Committee on the status of the design development phase of the new high school building and all the user meetings that were held and still to be conducted. Food service and theater consultants are now involved in the project. The architect continues to have bi-weekly meetings with the administration and SiteLogic, our construction manager, and end-user meetings with the engineers Snyder Hoffman and the facilities team on the MEP systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Land development process is ongoing with the civil engineer and the geotechnical testing work ongoing at the campus. A sketch plan was submitted to Bristol Township, and we will have to go through their process as they were concerned specifically for traffic and storm water drainage management. There were no action items to be sent to the board for consideration and approval. The next facilities meeting is Thursday, April 3rd at 5 p.m. in the superintendent's conference room, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waldorf, do you have a finance and partnership report?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Steer. The committee met on March 17th, this past week. We had a presentation from SiteLogic on potential facility grants Pennsbury School District might be eligible for in 2025. We discussed individual school budgets and the expenditures, and we asked the team to come back with more specifics. We reviewed the Stocker report that healthcare costs are going to increase about 5% next year, but we are not aware yet of the impact in the individual plans. And we also learned that the school district needs one more year of experience before we can move to back to a self-insured model. We discussed our workers' comp, which will remain flat for next year, and we reviewed, I guess in theory, approved the finance partnership committee meeting dates for next year. For your consideration tonight, 7A, approval of financial reports. 7B, approval of bills pending. 7C, donation of art supplies. Move to accept with appreciation the donation of various art supplies from Fusible Glass Studio from Nancy Allen for a value of $26,465. 7D, Lois already discussed this. This is the Apple iPads for student trial. Move to approve the purchase of 240 iPads, keyboard cases, and 4 years of accidental damage coverage, 2 incidents per year at a cost not to exceed $120,708 for elementary school students. This approved the purchase of an additional 110 iPads, keyboard cases, and 4 years of accidental damage at the same rate at a cost not to exceed $55,342.50 for art classes, 50 of those, ELL students, 30, and for training, 30. The rationale is these iPads we used in a pilot in elementary school classes for the 25-26 school year. The other iPads will be used in art classes at the high school and elementary schools for ELL students and to use for training with teachers across the district. We anticipate long-term cost savings from lower breakage rates, reduced costs due to tools that are included in the iPads versus tools that we have to purchase separately for Chromebooks, and a guaranteed buyback rate. 7E, incident IQ Asset and Incident Tracking System. Move to approve the renewal of the Incident IQ Technology Assistant and Incident Management System at a cost not to exceed $26,145.70 for next school year. 7F, approving the dates for our action meetings for 2025-26. Move to approve the dates, be approved and advertised for the action board meetings for next year. 7G, Prom Entertainment, move to approve entry into a contract with Wasserman Music LLC for prom entertainment at a cost of $35,000. The cost is covered by the sale of prom tickets. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Dr. Delwich, do you have a Policy and Personnel Committee report?
I do. The Policy and Personnel Committee met on March 13th. During that time, the board went into executive session to discuss potential disciplinary actions. Item 8B is a first read of changes to Policy 326, which will better delineate the process for addressing personnel complaints. Item 8A is a first read of changes to Policy 339 on uncompensated leave. Item 9C is the Memorandum of Understanding between Pennsbury School District and the Pennsbury Education Association regarding retirement incentives related to compensation for unused sick days. And item 9D will allow the superintendent and assistant superintendent of human resources to fill existing budgeted positions for effective and efficient operation of schools in the 2025 to 2026 school year, and this is follows what we've done for the past several years. All three of these items 8A, 9C, and 9D, will enable smoother transitions and personnel changes and increase our ability to recruit top-tier talent. Items 9A and B are routine professional and classified items recommended by administration for approval. The next meeting will be on April 10th at 4:30 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mrs. Polsky, do you have a Wellness Committee report?
Yes, ma'am. The Wellness Committee met on February 27th in the Superintendent's Conference Room. The committee heard a presentation from the Pennsbury High School Principal, Mr. Reggie Meadows, Assistant Principal, Mr. Ryan Regensburg. The high school team shared information about their school initiatives that promote a positive school culture and climate. After hearing the presentation, the members of the committee invited the high school team to present tonight to the full board, which you heard earlier. The committee also discussed the Yes You Can 5K, which is on April 27th, 2025. Registration is now open for this event that directly benefits each PTO in our school community. Our next meeting will be held on Thursday, March 27th, 2025, at 3:45 in the Superintendent's Conference Room. That concludes my report, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move into public comment. As I stated at the start, this is your time to directly address the board, uninterrupted by the board, the administration, or the audience. Up to 90 minutes are provided as an opportunity for community stakeholders and others to comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Speakers should have signed in on the appropriate sign-in sheet. Each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board. If you are speaking, please state your name and your municipality to begin. And if you are commenting on behalf of a company or organization, please state the name of the organization and that you are speaking on their behalf. Speakers may not cede their 5 minutes to any other persons. I will call each speaker up to the microphone in the order that they signed in. During public comment, you may pose questions, make comments, but the board and administration will not answer questions during your 5 minutes of public comment. We will not engage in a discussion. This allows you, the speaker, to utilize the entire 5 minutes for your public comment. It is our expectation that individuals will not be interrupted by others in the audience during their 5 minutes. We ask that meeting attendees respect each other's time for public comment and not interrupt in any manner. At the end of public comment, the board may respond to comments, direct the administration to do so, or address them later in the meeting, or opt to take up the matter at a future meeting, allowing for appropriate time for research. The first speaker this evening is James Grimm.
Good evening, James Grimm, Falls Township. Mrs. Steer, instead of your mindless minute to start these meetings, why didn't you have a moment of silence for the student that died? I mean, are you people crazy? You don't acknowledge anything appropriate. But I can say this because I'm very relaxed. Speaking of respect, you know, I see Mr. Burdnick's not here. He's probably out with his debate team, which he doesn't get paid to do, okay? I think it's amazing. I really do. In looking at meetings online, there's certain things that have been said about Mr. Burdnick, such as he goes to Hershey to get hookers and booze it up. People are allowed to say whatever they want to say. I don't have to agree with it. But what I find fascinating is, Tom, you don't defend that at all. You don't speak up. You don't say anything. But if one person says one thing about Mrs. Gibson that's slightly off tilt, you are the first to respond and defend it. So why don't you do the same for Mr. Burdnick? Well, because he doesn't control your job. Mrs. Gibson does. So everybody says, well, you pick on Tom, you call him a liar, you call him this, you call him that. I thought I was the only one. I'm glad to find out that I'm not. Most of your staff thinks exactly the same way, Tom. You are not respected by anybody in this district. I saw an email that came across, and it's lengthy, so I'm going to try to chop it. It starts off by Mrs. Gibson's promotion has caused a mess, and on top of that, she didn't even apply for the job. I get that aspect of it. Paragraph 2, Dr. Smith's so-called new hiring procedures for the administration is supposed to make things better and transparent, but it doesn't fix anything. The damage is already done. After all the lies and manipulation, no one believes he's really trying to do the best, to be honest now. There is no going back. And he can't fix what he already ruined or give people the opportunity they've been denied due to his corrupt political agenda, which is what I've said since day one, okay? The procedure promise seems to be like a desperate attempt to cover up everything that has gone wrong. He even wrote in a document that he has the right to make changes without consideration of the staff's wishes or needs, opinions or skills. Paragraph 3, no one trusts Dr. Smith anymore. He's lost support of the administrative staff. The majority have said they're just going through the bare minimum. They're not interested in his plans, agenda, or vision. The morale is at an all-time low throughout the district. And then it goes on to say, if you want documentation to support this Arthur has it. So it's everything I've said, Tom. And I'll say it again. You are here for one reason and one reason only, and that is to sow the Democratic agenda of a new high school. When that fails, and it's going to, you're out. You're done. So I'd start shipping resumes very quick. So our current president used a slogan called Make America Great Again. I think we got to look at this and make Pennsbury great again. You need to go, and Mrs. Gibson needs to go. I learned as a child, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. You and Mrs. Gibson are two bad apples that have spoiled this district. The staff is terrified of her, because if you don't fall in the line with Mrs. Gibson, you got repercussions like you've never seen, and you support it, because you have no choice. It's absolutely appalling. Now, I skipped a bunch of meetings, but I couldn't skip tonight because I'm so excited. I really want to appear on Mr. Selleck's next video. Mrs. Delwich, is he doing these videos on behalf of you, the board, the district, or himself? You don't answer anybody anyway. But Mr. Selleck's videos are not trashing us. They're supporting us. Because the people that watch, See the ludicrousity behind you people. And lastly, instead of your mindful minute, you should have had a moment of silence for this student that passed. It's just appalling. Get your priorities straight, and maybe you'll have a chance. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Andrew Dell.
Andrew Dell, Falls Township. I was curious what Pennsbury is currently doing to police the non-resident students from across the river or out of our district that are currently attending this school, have been probably for years, and maybe new students that don't belong here now. I know there's a hotline apparently to call, but I would like to know, have a number of how many people you've actually found that are in this district inappropriately. And when you do find the people that are here that aren't supposed to be here, is there a way to claw back any money? Say a student is here for 5 years and you find out, hey, they're not supposed to be here. Who's financially responsible for that? Because a lot of our resources, I believe, because you can't see this many New Jersey tags pulling up to pick up the kids. Maybe if they just moved here from New Jersey, but when you constantly see Jersey tags, people dropping their kids off at bus stops, coming from different places, you start to wonder how many kids are in this district that really aren't supposed to be here. So what I'd like to know is how many have we caught? How are you proceeding forward with finding who these people are? And maybe you could possibly incentivize students, parents to let you know and save us substantial amounts of money and allow us to spend the resources on the kids and the families that are actually paying their taxes in this district. So, and I don't know the legal ramifications for someone who lied on an application to get in here. And if they've been here, like I said, for years, I understand the cost per student is roughly between $20,000 and $25,000 a year budgeted for each student. I could be off on that number, but that's a number that was provided to me. But if that's what it's costing, and you have 50 or 60 of these kids in here that aren't supposed to be in here, they're using up our resources, and resources could be spent on the kids that are supposed to be here. And second item is this new high school. I've heard through the grapevine that they're doing drilling to find out depths and piers and water tables and all this, and I understand they're coming back with some pretty bad readings, possible wetlands. Don't know, don't have 100% accuracy on the information, so I can't say for sure. But if that is the case, where would this said proposed school that will cost more than, there's no way you guys are going to stand a referendum. If you do, by chance, get under referendum with this new school, it's going to be change order central, like most of the other projects that go on here. So adding to that is the contracts that you do get from these contracts to say this school does get built. Is there a way to lock them in so they can't change the price? And they can't say, oh, well, we found this and we found that. They should all be professionals, and unless it's an act of God or something they find and they have to build around something. But I just want to know how all these projects, and it's not just you guys, it's Falls Township, it's Pennsbury, the price is never the price. The original price is never the price. It's usually some multiple of the price. 1.3 times, 1.5 times. It's never what you guys say it's going to be. That's got to come to a stop. And if we find that these kids that aren't supposed to be here, we get extra money, there's many programs that I know you're probably short on funding on that you could possibly fund by getting rid of the people that are not supposed to be here. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dean Pesci.
Dean Pesci, Falls Township. I'm an 8th grader at Charles Bray Middle School and currently a percussionist in the concert band and honors band. The change to electives will cause students in the music program to not have access to the same electives as that other kids do. I feel this is unfair, and this punishes students for being a part of music programs. Elective classes at the middle school level help prepare us for what we might want to take in high school level, and also prepare us for future after high school. This limited choice for music students put them at a disadvantage. As a student currently in higher level classes, taking art, FCS, gym, world language, and others serve as a break from challenging classes throughout the day. It makes it easier to manage the workload at home and in school. These specials also help with anxiety and generally are relaxing environments. Like for me, I sometimes struggle with anxiety, and having these electives really helps me calm down from work and school and everything. Students that need academic help will always attend OP with a teacher when needed. Missing one instrument player isn't one rehearsal isn't that big of a deal. I feel this is unfair for kids that might not want to take all these special area courses, but are prohibited if they choose to play their instrument. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for speaking. Our next speaker, I believe, is Rob Savage. It's hard for me to read. Okay. Seeing no one's come forward, the next speaker is Chad Smith.
Chad Smith, Falls Township. So I wanted to comment about the change in middle school schedule from the perspective of a parent of 3 daughters, elementary school, middle school, and high school, Eleanor Roosevelt, Penwood, and Pennsbury High School. I want to take a perspective from an emotional well-being standpoint and really echo something that Dean just said right now around emotional development. And I want your takeaway to be essentially what my perspective is as a parent, as someone who also went through the arts in elementary school, middle school, and high school, just as a different perspective to what we talked about. First, I want to commend Dr. Ricci and Dr. Brown. The task that you had to parse the schedule that we looked at seems insurmountable, so my hat is off to you for taking on that endeavor. I just hope you listen a little bit to what I have to say here. So in my house, the arts are very big. My daughters are singing at all times. They're all in chorus. They all play instruments. We're a musical household. And for them and their friends, chorus and band are a safe space. It's a place that they can go throughout the day where they're not subject to the pressures of social media, what's going on the screen in front of them, academic pressures. In their lives, the academic pressures are only increasing because of the commoditization of the education system, no fault of the people here, just the fact of the system that we're in, commoditization of undergraduate degree. So the pressure is high. And from my perspective, we want to offer up opportunities for our daughters to enhance their emotional well-being and to give them resources to build them up. And for us and their friends, chorus and band are a place to do that. I want to share some statistics here. So there was a youth risk behavior survey from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It said from 2013 to 2023, the percent of kids who experience persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness increased from 39 to 53% in females and 21 to 28% in males. So we're really facing an epidemic of negative emotions around our kids, right? If you've had a daughter or a son go into middle school anytime in the last 10 years, you know the first day they walk into middle school, day one, it is absolute chaos for them emotionally, socially, emotionally, everything. Chorus is a safe space for them. It's a place that they can be themselves. It's a place that they can connect, use a different part of themselves and learn and grow. Not to take this to too dark of a place, but that same study showed that those who considered suicide during the past year increased from 2013 to 21, females from 27% to 22%. I'm sorry, 22% to 27%. And I know that's drastic, right? Chad, we're talking about chorus. Why are you talking about suicide? The point that I'm trying to make is that the arts and the programs of the arts are a safe haven that shield our kids from the wolves of everything from outside, all of the social pressures, all the academic pressures. And by taking something where they meet 4 times a week right now and making it 3, maybe 4 times a week, we're making the gap a little wider in the gates that keeps the wolves away, right? We're reducing those opportunities for something that I'm hearing for an enrichment program that we don't know what's going to go there right now. My takeaway from the presentation is that we want to offer up enrichment opportunities, but we don't know what's going to be there. So we're taking away something that we know is proven for generations to increase mental health and well-being for something that we don't know what it is. You know, academic achievement is the thing that gets you achievement in life. It gets you salary, it gets you places in life. But music and the arts are the things that for me, in my experience, are the things that make life worth living. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dawn, I believe it says Papers.
Hi, I'm Dawn Pavers. I live in Yardley Borough. I actually wanted to speak about the same thing that Chad just spoke about. My daughter actually today was at BCMEA representing Pennsbury in the middle school choir. It is her passion. It is what helped her when she first entered middle school as an anxious kid. She found her place there in that chorus. She made friends. It helps to take away the anxiety of the day. And my concern is that we're going from saying, okay, they definitely have 2 scheduled practices, to we have 1 and maybe it'll happen with something else. Those kids want to go up and practice so that they can stand in front of their peers and their families and make them proud. But if you're taking away the instructional time, the time with their choir director, they're not going to feel good about it. And guess what happens when middle schoolers don't feel good about something? They stop doing it. And then eventually, when they go to high school, they're not going to try again. I'm concerned about how reducing this is going to take away that safe space that they have to go to. Some of these kids don't do as well academically. They aren't going to be the shining star on the athletic team. Sometimes this is what takes away their anxiety. I know that singing actually reduces your cortisol. So as much as we do a mindful minute, the singing is doing that for them too. And it's a safe place for them. We also are so proud of our music program in Pennsbury. But if we're taking away just the vocal arts, you know, we're keeping all of the instruments, but we made them make an impossible choice to begin with. When my daughter sat down and looked at her choices, if she wanted to be in orchestra and chorus, she couldn't take any other electives. Well, most parents, if you've bought a violin, what are you going to suggest your child do? Like, you've already made the investment, you're gonna play the violin, kid, you know, give up chorus. So I think it was an impossible choice to begin with. And then to say, okay, we'll give you chorus, but you can only have half the amount of time. It's making them feel like they're just not important. And I know for her, singing and learning a new song with her chorus builds her confidence every single time. They get that much more confidence, and that confidence spills over into other things. And I think we all want our kids to walk confidently into this world. It's a scary place. We all know that. This is that little safe place that they have to go and feel special, feel like they matter. And I'm just very concerned about us reducing that. We all want to say, oh, Christy Altamar went to Pennsbury. We want to say, you know, look at how awesome the Addams Family musical was. But it starts in middle school. And if we're already taking away those vocal lessons that they learn from their teachers, you know, we're just setting ourselves up to fail because they're not going to continue on. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
The next speaker is John Tadlock.
John Tadlock, Falls Township. Recently, I was at Walmart doing some shopping, and there's a pass the toy department. There was a little boy about, 4 or 5 years old, and he was laying on his back in the middle of the aisle, kicking his feet, flailing his arms, screaming. And I guess he was being denied a toy or something that he wanted. He was very unhappy. And the adult that was with him just seemed oblivious. They were just ignoring it, I suppose, hoping that it would resolve itself when, given time. But as I walked away, he was only getting louder and louder, so having a meltdown. And this reminded me of the old adage, you don't reward, or in this case ignore, bad behavior in children. And you don't reward or ignore bad behavior in adults who act like children. During the last 3 or 4 school board meetings, I've witnessed people calling out from the audience, people having a conversation with their seatmate so that others can't hear the proceedings. That happened just tonight. Someone using a pseudonym instead of their actual name. And to me, how do you give credibility to someone who will not even tell you their name? We've seen someone accost another member of the audience. This person got up, walked across the room uninvited to forgive Mr. Selleck. And I asked him to use his name. He gave me his permission. So they got up and they walked across the room uninvited to forgive Mr. Selleck. For what I'm not sure. Mr. Selleck did not ask for their forgiveness. Mr. Selleck did not even want this person's forgiveness. Interestingly, this person chose to do this during the meeting, during public comment. Not before the meeting, not after the meeting, not the next day via email or social media. Yet another disruption. And then finally, last month, we had to endure a full-blown temper tantrum from someone in the audience, and the last one, that one required police intervention. It reminded me a lot of that little boy at Walmart. It's hard to take people seriously when they act in such an unserious manner, when they lack self-control, common courtesy, and consideration for those around them. Which brings me to another old adage, actions have consequences. This board reminds me of someone who says to a child, I'm going to count to 3. And if you don't behave, some type of punishment will follow. And when the count has ended, nothing happens. I can't entirely blame these contrarians, I guess we could call them, but I blame the board. Dr. Steer clearly reads a code of conduct at the beginning of each meeting, and again reads another at the start of public comment. When you make a rule, you must be prepared to enforce it, and not call a recess and retreat to another room when a violation occurs. I've seen that happen a few times here. Never seen anybody asked to leave or escorted out. Imagine if everyone acted like some of these instigators. You'd have pandemonium every month. And some say we're approaching that situation now. I realize it's a difficult job maintaining order, and you must be mindful of the First Amendment rights of people. I know that there was a lawsuit in the past, which may make you a bit skittish. But what about the rights of others at the meeting to engage in the exchange and expression of information and ideas? Maintaining order does not infringe on anyone's First Amendment rights. It ensures that right for everyone. There are important decisions to be made in the months and years ahead that will impact our community for decades. We can agree without being disrespectful, we can have opposing viewpoints without being obnoxious, and we can find consensus while treating each other with civility. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jenny Chase.
Jenny Chase, Lower Makefield Township. I wanted to speak to you tonight in support of music and arts in our schools, and specifically the recent changes to the middle school curriculum that were reviewed earlier this evening, which reduced the access to music and arts for our children. I was upset last month to find out that our daughter would have to give up FCS, art, DLM, general music, and foreign languages if she wants to continue playing with the orchestra and singing in the chorus in middle school. I appreciate the district is working to balance the needs of all children, but I do not feel that the most recent change of offering chorus during only one guaranteed opportunity period per 6-day cycle is adequate. My daughter and several other Pennsbury students recently had the opportunity to participate as part of the Oak National Youth Choir, thanks to the support of one of our amazing Pennsbury music teachers. An opportunity that I do not believe would be possible for her without the quality of choral instruction that she has had at both Edgewood and Charles Bain. At the National Choir, I marveled at how the music educators were able to pull together such an incredible experience for our children and a performance with only 3 days of instructional time. But now I'm realizing that they had more time with the kids in those 3 days than this new plan will give our middle school choral music teachers with our kids in an entire year. From my understanding, this new plan gives only about 12 hours of guaranteed choral instruction in the school year versus the 16 hours that my daughter had over the course of just 3 days as part of that choir, preparing for just one concert. Only 12 hours of guaranteed choral instruction over the course of an entire year isn't setting our children up for success, and it isn't keeping the music program intact. Hours and numbers aside, why is this important? The guest conductor of that national choir, Francisco Nunez, said something that really stuck with me about the growing importance of music in our increasingly digital age. He said, music education, particularly choral singing, is not merely an extracurricular activity. It is the central thread of the tapestry of a child's growth. It teaches discipline, nurtures creativity, and builds community, ensuring that through song, joy remains a significant part of their day, every day, and that they never feel lonely, but part of a beautiful community. I've seen firsthand the positive impact of that discipline, creativity, community, and especially joy on both of my children who are part of the Charles Bain choral program. I'm not asking for guaranteed chorus time every day, as Mr. Nunez suggested in that quote, but I am asking the school board and administration to find a way to guarantee 2 days of choral instruction per 6-day OP cycle, as the current schedule provides 2 days within a 5-day cycle, to help maintain the quality of the middle school choral program that means so much to my 2 children, while still enabling them to experience the other valuable elective classes that they love, including orchestra, FCS, and art. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Abigail Strauss.
Hi, my name is Abigail Strauss. I live in Lower Makefield, and my son Ben is in 6th grade at William Penn and is involved in the choral program. I'm here because I'm concerned and unhappy about the change to the chorus schedule, reducing chorus students' rehearsals to once a week or less. This change also means that kids in chorus would not receive the same amount of time as kids who play musical instruments. This isn't fair to those children who are just involved in chorus. I want to say that my entire family attended their winter performance, and we were all just absolutely floored and impressed with the chorus. It was unbelievable, and it's very obvious that the instruction that they are receiving is worthwhile in building their vocal skills and confidence. We want our son to get the same opportunities as children who play instruments, and it is well known, as other parents have mentioned, that singing in a choir offers numerous benefits, including improved physical and mental health, enhanced social skills, and a strong sense of community, musicality, and teamwork. On a personal level, I can see the joy in my son when he is singing, and it reminds me of when I was in middle school and I was in, chorus, and how much joy. I think any adult who has been in chorus that is here tonight can attest just what it's like to sing in a group, and I really wish that there were more opportunities for our kids to experience that joy, and just really, I'm just asking that you please consider all of, consider that this is really important to the kids, and maybe that you could reinstate this equal time for choral instruction. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is, I believe it's Colleen Kate.
My name is Colleen Court. Sorry, my handwriting. I live in Yardley. I am also here tonight to comment on the new elective system and choral music program at the middle school levels. I have an 8th grader at William Penn and a 5th grader at Makefield Elementary. My 8th grader has been a member of the band and chorus at William Penn, the honors choir, honors band, the school musicals, and this weekend will perform with the BCMEA band. You may remember my 5th grader from last month's board meeting. She's playing Annie in Makefield's production of Annie this weekend. She also plays violin in the orchestra and recently attended the Honors Choir and Honors Orchestra Festival. I hold a Bachelor of Music Education from Indiana University. I teach music together classes to young children and their families. As you might imagine, I am a huge proponent of music education and the positive influences it has on all children. So when the new elective system at the middle school was announced, my first thought was, they are going to destroy their music program. What are they doing? Middle school is the time when students should try it all. They find their thing. They see what they like. They explore. They meet new people. You are asking 10-year-olds to choose what they like in 6th grade. They don't know what they like yet. They haven't tried it. That's why they try it all in middle school, so that they can choose in high school. And the new system punishes the music kids by making them choose between music and other things. If given the choice between music programs and losing their chance for cool electives, students will certainly choose electives if they can't do both. And I don't know this for certain, but I imagine there is ongoing conversation because that's what happened. I imagine your music enrollment plummeted. When they chose electives at school a few weeks ago, my 5th grader, whose life goal is to be a star on Broadway, told me she wasn't going to do chorus in middle school because she wanted to take French and FCS, and my heart broke a little. After talking to Mrs. Del Benzio, the choir director at William Penn, she told me that this would put her at a disadvantage for parts in the school musical, as well as eliminate her from trying out for honors choir. So this past Tuesday, I was overjoyed to hear that chorus would now be put back in OP, and she could take her electives as well as chorus, and I thought that all was right with the world. However, when I realized that chorus would now be treated as a second-class citizen to band and orchestra, I couldn't even understand how this was possible. To children who choose not to play an instrument, choir is their opportunity to participate in a musical experience. I think we can all agree that Pennsbury School District is not perfect, but one of the things that it does really, really well is music. Your music program is outstanding. I am thrilled for my children to have the musical opportunities they will have at Pennsbury High School. I attended the Big Sing in Princeton last year, a concert put on by the high school choirs, and I was blown away by the direction, the caliber of music, and the level of performance. If you don't give children this bridge opportunity in middle school to continue with their choral experience and to see the value in it, you are going to wind up destroying one of the things that makes Pennsbury so amazing. And let me just say this. If you don't believe in the power of music education, that's fine. We can disagree. But know this. For some students, choir offers the only space all day in which they might feel accepted and successful. You are doing the students a huge disservice if you decide to continue on this path. Choral music is just as important, just as difficult to teach and learn, just as beneficial to students as instrumental music. It offers students a chance to be creative, to work with others towards a common goal, to meet new people, to perform, and to find their voice. The inequity you are offering between instrumental and choral music is unacceptable. Students didn't drop out of chorus because they didn't want to do it. They dropped out because you made them choose. By giving instrumental music its own full course and then simply offering choir once in a 6-day rotation, you are going to create resentment and animosity between your music programs. You will have instrumental music and choral music departments fighting for student access and choice. My 8th grader did band and chorus all 3 years in middle school during OP. If she had to go see a teacher, she went to go see a teacher. If she had to miss band or chorus to make up a test, she did. In her words, it wasn't a big deal, Mom. Please reconsider your offering of choir only once during the new 6-day rotation schedule. At the very least, they should have the same number of rotation days they have had in the past during OP. If you don't give students this opportunity, not only will you hurt your vocal music program at the middle school and high school levels, but you will wind up hurting the students who benefit from choir the most.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jeremy Darrington.
My name is Jeremy Darrington. I live in Falls Township. I want to echo what many other parents have said about the impact of this curriculum change on the music education. And that last speaker was very articulate. I agree with everything she said, except I will point out a couple of things. One of which is that this is not a competition between chorus and band. This is going to have an impact on both aspects of the music program. Music enrollment is down. I know from talking to music teachers that they're already seeing declines in the music enrollment. If we kill that pipeline now, the proud traditions that we care about at Pennsbury, one of which is the music program, the gem of this district, is going to be decimated. In several years, we're going to have half the number of students going in from middle school into the high school, into the marching band, into the jazz band. We're not going to have a long orange line. It'll be a short orange line. And I think that's terrible. And one of the other points that was well stated earlier, and I think it was Chad who said it, was that this is an impossible choice for our students. Many of these students that are in band and in chorus, or orchestra and chorus, they want to do all of these things. And I don't understand why we're deciding to make what is really a radical philosophy change about how middle school works. The previous speaker, I think, said this very well, that like, these kids, they don't know what they need. They don't know what they like. Why are we forcing a specialization in 6th grade when I didn't know what I wanted to do for my life's work until I was well out of college? This is the time for kids to explore. It's the time for them to have opportunities to rotate through all these things. None of my boys, I have 4 children, one proud grad of Pennsbury High School, 2 in high school right now, 1 at the middle school at Penwood. They have all been in the music program, in band, in chorus. It's been an absolute benefit to them. But they also explored many other things that they got to do through this circulating OP period. None of my boys would have elected to choose FCS, but every single one of my boys learned to cook, and they love to do it, 2 of them especially. That's a benefit, right? If you force this kind of choice, they're going to lose out on these opportunities. I don't see why we need to force a specialization in world language in 6th grade. They don't need a high school level proficiency going into high school. They're going to get it in high school. What they need is the opportunity to experience world languages, rotate through some things, try some things out, figure what they want, and then move on from there. They can make an intelligent choice when they go into high school and have further things to do. I just want to comment on something that was said in the presentation about the curriculum change. You know, saying that you can have students go and get extra help for music, chorus or band or whatever during the new opportunity period is completely ludicrous. You've never been in a band or a chorus if you think that you can just have one rehearsal and then assume that kids piecemeal are going to show up to the choral instructor and say like, okay, let's figure out how this goes. You have to rehearse together. I was a band student. I'm also a singer. I sing in a choir. Those rehearsals are key. And part of the magic of several people have referred to about the benefit and blessing of music in people's lives comes from that shared thing that we do together. It's unifying. We live in a society that is falling apart. We can't seem to get along with people. This is one of those things, music that not only heals students, but it heals communities. And one of the points I want to make is that I sing in the Pennsbury Community Chorus. It's one of the few institutions I can think of where we have students from 16 in high school, in the choral program now, up to in their 80s, who come together on a weekly basis and make music together. Where else do you see that? We don't see it anywhere else in our society. This is something that's going to impact not just these students, but the community for generations. And I think that's something you have to keep in mind as we think about this. I'm concerned also just the way this came about that, parents, this is a major curriculum change. And parents weren't brought into this until we were just informed of what was happening in February. Why was that? Why didn't you ask for our opinion, ask for our feedback, ask us if it was going to affect our children? So I think you need to completely reconsider this approach. I just don't think it works. I think it's a forced choice exercise that doesn't do our students, our children any good. I think we need to keep things as we are. I mean, start time doesn't have anything to do with a curriculum change. That, it's driven by other interests or other concerns. And like several people have said, for our students, especially these high-achieving students that want to be in band, they want to be in chorus, they want to be able to do both of these things, as several people have mentioned, they know how to go get help when they need help. My daughter said the same thing to me. She's like, I can go get help. What are they going to do in opportunity period in this new situation? They're going to be on their Chromebooks doing who knows what. My daughter was like, how much IXL can I do? I don't know. It's not worth it. That's what I can say. So I hope you'll reconsider your approach because this is just not going to do our community and our students any good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Laura Aberkoff.
Good evening, Laura Aberkoff, Falls Township. I am a Pennsbury graduate with a major in vocal music and the president of the Pennsbury Choral Parents Association. I'm here tonight to speak on the proposal which limits and decreases the choir and the music department at the middle school level. Throughout Pennsbury, my focus has shifted from my own success to my children's well-rounded education, both of which are in chamber choir, to the investment in the future of the community throughout the school district. My hopes were that my children would receive a well-rounded quality education with many interests and opportunities. I'm dismayed that the future students will not be afforded the same opportunities and experience that other Pennsbury students have had. Should Pennsbury recognize the studies that have been proven that choral music has benefits for health and the well-being of its participants, I wondered if this is due to the building of the high school that will not have room to adequately house the performing arts. So the plan is to halt the growth of choir at the middle school level in hopes of limiting access to the high school that we have. If this schedule passes, teachers will be severely limited on how to teach basic music theory, which is required for learning to read music. Students will have less time to learn their repertoire, practice skills, and retain musical knowledge. If this proposal passes, it will make Pennsbury less desirable to families looking to buy homes in the well-rounded school district and opportunities in the academics, the arts, and athletics. I implore you to reevaluate and reconsider this measure and fully support the performing arts in Pennsbury from the elementary to the high school levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Lila Abercroft.
Good evening. I'm Layla Abercroft, Falls Township. My concern is the shortening of this program, of the music program in the middle school level. I started in Charles Bay Middle School. It was where I really found my passion. 3 teachers behind me, they really supported me, helped me get through some of the hardest times. I continued all through high school with my passion. I was in several honors choirs and the elite chamber choir. These choirs brought me to rare once-in-a-lifetime experiences, such as performing in Carnegie Hall and St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. I'm concerned that shortening these programs to once a week, every other week, will take away from retention of the repertoire and the emotional growth that comes with all of the music that is performed. I really ask that you reconsider this, because this was something that really stuck with me, and taking away from that from future generations is just, it doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to speak. Next speaker is Susan Power.
Hi, Susan Power, Lower Makefield. I'm just going to change subject entirely. I just wanted to talk about, I've been watching the school board meetings the last couple of months, and I've seen a lot of complaints about Pennsbury's poor academic performance in the public comments. And while I agree that the pandemic had a very negative impact on school performance everywhere, I would just comment that even those who complain most loudly about this, that Pennsbury is actually doing better now than the state average in its academic recovery. And while it is true that we may not have district-wide scores that are high as, say, a district like Salisbury, Pennsbury is performing well when compared to other Bucks County high schools in recent performance assessments in the PSSA and Keystone exams at the 11th grade level. And I would say that a response to these results would be to say that, well, that's good, let's just keep going and try and think of other ways that we can keep the recovery of our academic standards going rather than to keep complaining. Also, one of the strengths of Pennsbury is that it has a very diverse student population, and not everybody wants to go to college. However, for those who do want to go, it's always heartening that when touring college campuses in Pennsylvania with our 11th and 12th graders, there are always a lot of other students that are proud Pennsbury graduates walking around, and we cannot but conclude that the district must be doing something right if we have all these proud Pennsbury graduates. On another subject, I'm somebody who teaches biology at a post-secondary level, and I have a very strong interest in how science is taught in schools. I believe that a society that has a strong foundation in science as a whole is a better society because of it. With this in mind, I'm really heartened to learn of the updates in the science curriculum at the high school level. I think that starting with Physical Sciences 1 at the 9th grade level was a mistake, as it made pupils that were already disinclined to focus on science accelerate their rush away, especially if their math skills weren't up to the appropriate level. So I'm very excited that the high school cycle will now start with environmental science and focusing on how we impact the environment and how the environment impacts us. Another subject that's controversial in the district is a project to build a new high school and whether or not the district can afford it. Even though my children will be graduated long before the high school is finished, it is my strong opinion that cancelling the project would be a false economy. The high school, and in particularly East, is obsolete and in very poor condition. The cost of maintenance and repair for both East and West would only continue to increase. Indeed, estimates for the swimming pool to bring it up to standard would cost almost as much as it would to tear the whole thing down and build a new one. I don't want my taxes to rise any more than anybody else here, but if we build a new high school, it will save us money in the long run. It seems to me that spending a lot of money to renovate buildings that are already in bad condition would be a really bad use of our money. In addition, the plans would yield a school that would be more available to the community and would also provide opportunities for earning money through the use of the facilities by the public. My youngest is graduating in a couple of months, and both my children were very well educated at Pennsbury and had a really wonderful experience. We feel very lucky to have come through the district and are very thankful to the teachers that advocated for them, and were always able to give them advice when we asked for it. And actually, I know my kids did band at middle school and loved it, and I just want to give a big shout out to Mr. P. Fan, who is the absolute best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Allison Johnson.
Hi, I'm Allison Johnson. I'm from LMT. I am here about a middle school thing, but not the music thing, but I do support everything that they said about music. I have 3 kids in Pennsbury, 10th grader, 8th grader, and a 5th grader, so rising 6th grader. I'm asking you to reevaluate the transportation policy surrounding busing and walkers. Both my 10th grader and my 8th grader walk bike to school. However, the start time was at 8:10. And with the start time starting at 7:35, my 5th grader will start walking to school from 1.5 miles away when it's dark, depending upon the time of year, the time change. In the winter, icy, and to use the policy words, hazardous conditions. I think that policy needs to be reevaluated, what the perimeter for walkers versus bus riders will be. I understand that there are parameters, and there's going to be walkers and there's going to be bus riders, but considering it's starting at 7:35, I think that you need to take into account the age of the kids. Are not high school kids, and they are coming off of elementary, and having them start walking in the dark to the school, I think it needs to be addressed. I reached out to the director of transportation, who said they would bring it up at committee, but I wanted to voice it here as well in case it doesn't trickle out of committee or make it to other people to consider this situation. So my basic request is please plan for a bus for my neighborhood next year for the middle schoolers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jim Boyce.
Good evening. Jim Boyce, resident in Pinewood. First time I came here was over a year ago. I didn't know a soul. I just wanted to come to share my opinions about building the new high school. By the way, my wife and I are beyond proud that we are building a new high school. Our son, who turned 6 yesterday, will be a member of the class of 2037, which I think is the first class to go through all 4 years. We're beyond proud to have our son enrolled at Walt Disney, where I was last Friday night, supporting our PTO at the ice cream social, scooping ice cream, so much ice cream, I couldn't feel my fingers all weekend. Great stuff going on, but back to that first meeting. All kinds of other topics came up that I had no idea were being discussed here. And I got into it, and I kept coming back to add my voice and my perspective to the discussion for your consideration. And I think I have a unique perspective. I've worked in public education now. This is my 24th year. I was a teacher for 10 years. For the last 13 years, I've worked across the river for the largest union that represents public school employees in the state. I'm a union rep. It's very important to my wife and I we keep our district among the best in our county and our state. And because of that, when it comes to everything, I've got my hats on. My hats. How are the students? Kids have to be at the center of everything we do. So when it came time for my wife and I to buy a house, no doubt we came back to Pennsbury. I've lived here 19 years. We moved back here because of the schools, like a lot of folks come back here, come to live here because of our schools. At the cornerstone of it all is the consistency our kids need to reach their full potential. That's very hard to do. And because of that, you know, I said the school district's great, but it is far from perfect. We've got to navigate the new high school, which we heard about tonight. Funding at the state and federal levels, we got to keep an eye on that. There's a lot of uncertainty, especially with the executive order signed today to shutter the U.S. Department of Education. We've got to connect with our school staff in new and innovative ways. Our school staff, their working conditions are our students' learning conditions. You better be talking to them. You better be listening to them. We've got to keep this community affordable, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Heard tonight the math scores are doing well. The language arts scores have a little way to go. I don't mean to lecture you or scold you, school board. I know this is a volunteer position, you put in a lot of time, but you have to be careful messing with kids' passions. And those passions come out in these elective classes. This is their safe space, this is their happy space, and I know that because when I taught for 10 years, I taught an elective called speech and drama, and I had kids tell me, this class is the reason why I come to school every day. I keep in touch with those kids. They tell me, your class gave me the confidence I needed to become an attorney, to become a doctor, to make video production my life. You need to be very careful, and we can do better, Pennsbury School Board. So I hope you're listening to these parents who were here tonight. With all that said, I said my kid's 6. I'm not going anywhere for a long time. And I'm very proud, very happy to say I am running for Board of Education in Region 2. Hope to be among you after November. And I'm really excited to connect with our parents, our school community around these challenges so that we can all overcome them together. If you want to learn more about me and what I stand for, you can search for me on Facebook, Jim Boyce for Pennsbury School Board. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Robert Abrams.
Robert Abrams, Lower Makefield Township. We just heard someone speak about someone that uses their childhood nickname. In a place where he can be she can be he, and you can be whatever you want, somebody that's had a childhood nickname that their mother gave them since birth, can't use it, it's insulting or offensive. That's absurd. That's control issues. Last month, we heard a whole spew of Pennsbury's, this ranked 129 at U.S. News and World Report, and this ranking here, this ranking there. The problem is it was incomplete. What wasn't mentioned, the 129 ranking for U.S. News and World Report was correct. The problem is when Dr. Thomas Smith took over here, the U.S. News and World Report ranking was 106. That gives you a 17.83 drop in less than 3 years. All right, let's talk about the iPads. Mr. Daly sent you all a letter. They are detrimental, especially to kids with IEPs, ADHD, whatever. They're going to hunt and peck on that little keyboard, they're going to get frustrated, and they're not going to learn. Dot, period, end, simple. Until you get data that proves you're not going to, and you're doing this in first grade, that you're not going to destroy them for life, you better put this thing tabled and on hold. Because you only get one chance and you'll never catch them up. If you hand them iPads, tell them to use it, and they can't navigate them, they're going to shut down. This is simple common sense and simple human nature. And with these little kids, you're not going to be able to deal with it as good as the teachers are in this school district. As far as these iPads go, I can buy the same iPad that you're going to pay $324 for $329 at Walmart. You mean to tell me with the potential of buying 15,000 iPads, the only price point is $5 less than Walmart? They should be giving you $350 for a trial for free, with the potential of buying $15,000 more if it's positive. Somebody's not, there's a lot of people around here who aren't doing their jobs. You mean to tell me Walmart's going to put up $324 for every unit and sell them for $329 for 1.7%, and that's going to cover their overhead? That's ridiculous. There's a problem here with how things are bought and how taxpayer money is spent. And somebody better start digging deep. Because the people that are here making $242,900 and something a year are sitting on their butts and saying, sure, just give me a price. It's only taxpayer money. And that's where your problem is. As far as the last speaker said, everybody's about this new high school. What I'm understanding now is that property's got some extremely serious issues. So serious that you can't build on it. And if you can, you're going to need a whole lot more money and a whole lot more professionals to tell you what you got to do. So I would put it back a couple years at least. But I believe there's an RTK in for the information. What else do we have here tonight? I don't know. We'll just let it go for tonight. But actually, changes really have to be made here. We haven't heard anything about DEI, and I think it's time to bring the feds in here and find out what you're doing. I've been stymied here on an RTK trying to find out how much taxpayer money you've spent in the last 3 years on it. And that's okay. We'll straighten it out. I'm sure it's millions of taxpayer dollars. And that's another thing. You spent millions of taxpayer dollars on this new high school, at least 2. And you may not be able to build it. And you don't have any property to build it on if it doesn't go where you're saying it's going to go. Unless you knock down the existing buildings and just replace them, which may be a potential option. But also want to know now, Dr. DeLuise, why is the video that's in open records under appeal right now on your significant other's website? Don't bother taking it down, I already screenshot it. How did you get it? It's under appeal. It's not a public record yet. You care to answer me? You don't belong, it doesn't belong to you. You shouldn't even know about it.
Thank you, Mr. Abrams.
The next speaker is Tim Daly.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to miss that.
Tim Daly, Lower Makefield Township. So first, I want to ask that Jim Boyce be removed from the meeting. In May of 2021, you guys issued a cease and desist against Vicky Chahofsky and Jennifer Spillane for politicking on school grounds. Remember that, Linda? Because you were behind it, so were you, Josh. So why is Mr. Boyce being treated differently? I expect that he will be receiving a cease and desist as soon as tomorrow, because he had no right to be at this mic and politicking and talking about his candidacy, because you guys may set a precedent in May of 2021 saying that's not possible. You can't do it on school grounds because of Policy 321. So what I want to talk about tonight is Policy 306. So I'm going to ask that it be removed from the agenda before you guys get into the next steps, because you're in violation of PA Sunshine Law. So in November 2021, that update to that policy went through Policy Committee. And in the December action meeting, where Ms. Delwish voted for the first time, and you did too, Ms. Steer, you voted that in. You voted for a different policy. And that policy is currently on board docs. And you guys are editing a policy that was accidentally placed up onto the website by an employee. It was an accident. But where my problem is, that accident sat on board docs for 3 years and 3 months. What do you guys on this board have to say for yourself? 3 years and 3 months, you were missing a policy for employees to file complaints against their supervisors. You have had multiple settlement agreements during this time frame. You've been sued by employees during this time frame. You've done settlements during this time frame. And little Miss Aronson up there, she's done employee investigations around complaints, yet she lacked the intelligence and the competence to actually look at the policy around complaint filing while she's investigating a complaint. Do you understand how mind-boggling that is? How much do you pay this lady? Why is Delwish even on the policy committee when she lacks the competence to even look? You guys are receiving emails about workplace hostility by staff who are scared to give their names due to fear of retaliation by Tom Smith, and you don't look at Policy 306 for 3 years and 3 months. So let's be clear. What's out there currently that you have out there is a PA Sunshine violation. So before you can actually edit the policy, you must correct the PA Sunshine Law violation. And if your lawyer had any common sense or any level of competency, she would have already known this. And what's most mind-boggling is that on Monday, I will be testifying in Harrisburg about violations of right to know and PA Sunshine Law by the school district, and yet you violated PA Sunshine Law again, and you're not curing the violation. You have to cure the violation first and put the policy up that you voted for, because you voted for a different policy and it's sitting out there on board docs. So update the policy, pull this off. There's no first reading, because you can't have a first reading of editing a policy that was never approved by this board. And you all know that it wasn't done by this board. This is what we come in here and we complain about, a lack of governance. So Janine can find all this time to do politicking, go door knocking, attack people that come into public comment, and politicize every single thing. You want to know what would be awesome, Janine? If you actually took that energy and put it towards something constructive, like what you ran for, which was to sit on this board, to serve your community, and provide governance. So think about that, Janine, because all of us are just getting tired of it. And, usually I don't agree with Jim Grin, but I got to tell you, the most eloquent words said tonight. You guys are unbelievable. You just don't seem to care about this community. Do better.
Next speaker is Sarah Bolton.
Hi, I'm Sarah Bolton from LMT. Before I start talking, I just want to let you know I've got 3 kids. I've got a 9th grader, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader who is still in the beginning of developing fine arts program at Pennsbury. 2 of my students have IEPs, and I understand the desire to have academic excellence, as well as the importance for students getting time to get help during OP. I have been the mom who has had arguments with my kid to skip choir and orchestra to get help several times. However, with that being said, I do want to talk about the music program. The intangibles that music offers is immeasurable. It enhances cognitive skills, boosts emotional intelligence, boosts emotional well-being, and fosters social connections, making it a valuable tool for personal and academic growth. It also teaches valuable skills, like including teamwork, building a strong work ethic, the importance of a community, and lifelong appreciation for the arts. It is disappointing at the continued erosion of the fine arts program at Pennsbury and the lack of priority for it. At times, it feels like the fine arts program is competing for just a seat at the table. The proposed structural change, from my perspective, is not the best interest of our students and our vocal music program. Previously, choir students had 2 dedicated rehearsals each week. This structure ensured consistency, engagement, and growth. With the current proposal, chorus will not even meet weekly. And over the course of a year, chorus students will get around 720 to 750 minutes in total, when instrumental students will have had 722 within the first 2 months alone. Children need time to discover and develop their talents while in school. So I'd just like to end in the words of my own children. My 9th grader said, "Doing choir in middle school gave me the place to where I could express myself. Having these days where I knew I could have fun, gain confidence, meant everything to me as a new 6th grader. The majority, if not all of my friends came from the choir program, and I wouldn't know where I'd be without them. The atmosphere choir crafted me into the person I am today." My 7th grader said, "Chorus is a big part of my life. The talent in singing helped me grow every day, and it is because of my teacher. He helps me grow closer to my friends by singing choir." My 5th grader said, "These changes feel like I'm being punished as a student that wants to do double music. It's forcing me to choose between choir and consider dropping out of music altogether in order to feel like I can fully participate in the options middle school offers." Thank you.
Next speaker is Watermelon Man.
Who can make a rainbow? Gee, wow. Nobody, huh? Wow. This is what the board sent me, was an intimidation letter. Doctor, or Steer, don't send that to me again. Send me a box of chocolates, maybe some tulips. Instead, it'll get my attention a little more, and then we can get a little dialogue going. I gave you the Riot Act. A public officer can be convicted of a felony for violating their oath, facing 1 to 5 years in prison. They're not just words, they're a promise to uphold the law, serve the public, and execute duties honestly. Instead of sending me messages like this, solicitor, perhaps you can save your money and give some money to the music program here. Think your name is what, Aaron? School board and teachers and nesters, Pennsbury School District mission to prepare all students for lifelong success in a global society by fostering creative, ethical thinking and critical thinking, while their vision is to maintain a positive school community where all students exhibit character and develop their social, emotional, academic abilities. With this in mind, a culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ, or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers, the best teachers, the best politicians, the best parents, or the best PhDs or MDs. But remember, poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Right, Dr. Smith? Yeah. We cannot allow the voices of hate, the voices of fear and ignorance to prevail. Steve Santasero. That way he gave Garden of Reflection. Palsky, you should remember that, Garden of Reflection, when everybody was being raped and murdered, and you all went there and laughed and joked and had a good time. John T. Galloway. I recognize that I have a problem. I should have recognized the problem the first time. I will seek treatment and I will enter a rehab program as soon as possible. There are no excuses here. I apologize to my family and friends and everyone in Bucks County who I am honored to represent. I will accept the consequences. Non-lawyer, Judge John T. Galloway, your boss. No wonder you don't take your oath seriously. He graduated in 1977 from Pennsbury. 2 years, Palsky, you were married in 1977. Yep, 2 years after Patricia Patty was killed. We all remember her, right? You still have her remnants underneath the stairs there? In East Building, I believe. How long I got? 1 minute 32. Pennsbury has a history of doing what you want with taxpayer dollars. You act as though you are separate from the at-large community. Pennsbury School Board has a problem. Also, our community has a serious problem. Pennsbury School Board problem is the opposing community. Me. The only reason Pennsbury has a problem is that they don't want the opposing community here, sending me these stupid letters. Every time you look at yourself, be you black, white, brown, red, yellow, or any combination of colors, you represent a person facing facts with receipts. PSD411.net. Check it out. You'll be surprised at the facts that you will receive. PSD411.info. I'm not up to speed with PSD411.net. Getting there. We are second-class citizens over power and greed. Now we must plot a course of intelligence, not to be unintelligent. Don't worry about my name, worry about the facts. That's what we're here for. Power, privilege, and accountability over taxpayers. The new school, you already have $250 million that you want to spend on it. The projected is $1 billion. I think everybody needs to go to their calculators and figure out the tax increases that that's going to cost over 10 years, regardless of how young your children are. They're taking away, they're making gym an elective, just like they're doing with music.
Thank you.
They're spending it all on
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
the field. You know my name. Watermelon Man!
Our next speaker is Jen Metzger.
Jennifer Metzger, Falls Township. I have a lot of things, so I'm going to go as fast as I can. With the kids, how about talking to them? How about explaining that there are other resources and opportunities, coping mechanisms? Yes, music's important, but this shouldn't be the only thing that the kids think that they have as an outlet. And I remember attending Pennsbury. There aren't a lot of resources that you have. You have guidance counselors who literally tell us, oh, you shouldn't apply to 1 or 2 schools, you should apply to 7 to 9 just in case. They're not empowering, they weren't helpful, they didn't care about us. They didn't say, hey, go to Bucks County Community College or use the CLEP exams to test out, and then that way you can actually afford to go to the 3rd and 4th years of college. Yeah, we send a whole bunch of kids, we give them A's and B's, all the things, but they don't actually have life skills. You didn't teach how to reconcile a checkbook. I took accounting in your school. I went all the way through calculus. It's not an impressive program. You're worried about teaching us languages, and you're worried about music, and you're worried about the prom, and you're worried about athletics, but at the end of the day, you're not teaching STEM. What does that matter? Well, it matters because the people who actually own the houses here that are now losing the houses because your real estate taxes are too high, because you're spending money on the wrong things, really aren't having kids that are getting trained and taught quite the same way. You're putting everything on Apple iPads and Chromebooks. That's a great idea. But what about the fact that people actually need to learn foundation on books? Who's deciding which kids are getting Apple iPads and which kids are getting Chromebooks? I work every day, full-time, on the computer. I could not have learned my job, the basics, the science for my degree, and everything I have to do for my licensing on a tablet. It just doesn't make sense. You're worried about the fact that the Chromebooks are breaking, but not one of you asked a question about the cases that you're putting around it. Proper etiquette with IT is to protect the product. I highly doubt you all throw your little Macs back into a bag or carry it around without a case. If you're doing it, it's inappropriate, maybe because you don't work in a real job for corporate. Maybe it's because you don't want to spend the extra money, but you're spending it on everything else. You spent $2.5 million to put up this school. You didn't check the ground that it was on. You haven't fixed the water problems for the other 130 acres, but you're worried about messing up the kids for what they're doing in the middle school. You're worried about changing the times. You spent the $200,000 on the study to change the time because you needed to get the contractors onto the 130 square acre field in order to build the new school, which you're not even going to get. So, craziness, right? Turf field was supposed to be, I don't know, $5 million, 4.4, ended up being $20 million. So how much do you think that the school's going to end up being? How heavy do you think the building's going to be for the projected weight when you're talking about using 18 by 18 bricks? You're trying to put it on a floating slab, you're not even talking about a proper monolithic foundation, so that's not even in the price. The things that you're doing just don't make sense. Charles Bame's septic tank. You guys, when it was decommissioned, filled it with sand and left it there, covered it like you were never going to notice. You didn't realize that when you were going to go back and do all of the work for this Charles Bame project, that they were going to dig that tank back up and figure out that the septic tank was still buried. So when Birdnick was asked, it was tabled for another time, and one of your board members, who actually has a brain and cares, asked what the status was on it. Well, he turns around and says, oh, it was taken care of during the project. Which project? The one that it was supposed to be taken care of years ago, or did they actually take care of it now? Nobody knows because nobody else asked him further after one of your board members asked, what's the status? He says it was done. When was it done? Are you sure it was done? Did you bury it again? So, consistent problems, right? You have little kids getting these netbooks this year, after Easter, to take the standardized testing on the netbooks. You already are failing on these standardized testing. Are the kids' grades high? Yes, they're getting A's and B's. We have smart kids. We have smart parents who care about their kids. They're reading to them. They're doing the best that they can. But this board is not standing up for the teachers. You have more administrators than teachers, and you're not teaching these kids long-term. In case you don't understand what I'm talking about, grades are a construct of literally how fast the child is learning. Fine, that's like your glucose level daily. We're talking about standardized testing, which is long-term, like your A1C level, long-term. And these kids are failing that, just like the kids in Philadelphia, just like the kids in Appalachia who don't have water.
Thank you.
It's not acceptable just because the rest of Bucks County did well.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lindsay Hamilton.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Hamilton from LMT. First, I have a letter from my daughter. Hello and good evening. My name is Campbell Hamilton, and I'm a creative 12-year-old girl at Penwood Middle School. I would like to speak out about the consequences of the choice to move chorus and band to our special period. I have participated in band for 3 years, and I have been in chorus for 2. I and many others love to express ourselves through music and art. With this change, people who play an instrument and are in chorus will be missing out on family consumer science, art, general music, DLM, and language courses. This is unacceptable. We should not have to sacrifice any of these amazing experiences. Another terrible thing that comes from this decision is the upcoming 6th graders that will be choosing what they will be participating in. This is horrible because the information that they get from the promotional videos is the only thing guiding them in this huge decision. They will never have the opportunity of being in some classes. Also, the second choice presented for us is for chorus to be kept in OP. This would leave us with about 750 total minutes for the whole school year. However, the band and orchestra gets almost 5 times more a year. This is outrageous and completely unnecessary and unfair. Students are quitting chorus, orchestra, and band due to these decisions. You are literally causing kids to quit. Let that sink in. Don't deprive the kids of the future of amazing and personality-forming education. In conclusion, these decisions would deeply affect me and other kids in this school district, so please consider this and choose better for the kids. As parents, we prioritize the health, safety, growth, and development of our children. As the school board who decides where money and time are spent in our schools, it is crucial for you to recognize the profound impact of arts education. These programs not only cultivate musical talent, but also offer invaluable life skills, benefiting students both inside and outside the classroom. Using brain scans, neuroscientists have noticed significantly increased brain development amongst musicians, while other studies show there are positive impacts of musical skills on language development, literacy, numeracy, measures of intelligence, concentration, self-confidence, emotional sensitivity, social skills, teamwork, self-discipline, and relaxation, as well as a range of health and well-being benefits. At a time when the social, emotional learning and status of our young people is so tremulous, removing sufficient access and exposure to music is frankly damaging. One study found that a substantial increase in arts education experience has a remarkable effect on students' academic, social, and emotional outcomes. Students in the treatment school experienced a 3.6% reduction in disciplinary infractions and an increase in their compassion for others, which was linked to being more likely to want to help people who are being mistreated. Unfortunately, much of the push in education has been focused solely on standardized test scores, but I'm not here to debate their value or importance. Rather, students in the top quality music programs have scored about 18% higher in English and 33% higher in mathematics than students in schools without robust programs. Additionally, improvements in scores are shown to increase linearly, meaning the more arts classes students take, the higher their standardized testing scores. Participation in the arts is also shown to positively affect the motivation of students, improve graduation rates, and reduce the lifetime use of drugs and alcohol. So if any part of the goal of this school board is to improve standardized test scores and maintain a high graduation rate, limiting music education is not the way to do it. I focused on the combined impact of musical arts exposure and education because both choral and instrumental music have benefits, but they also require time and practice to learn and hone those skills. While the initial announcement of returning chorus to the OP period was exciting, it is much less so when the reality of that change is calculated. Over the course of a year, chorus will receive approximately 1/5 of the time the instrumental programs meet. I find it impossible to imagine how the same curriculum and content can be taught to our students when their contact hours are so dramatically reduced. I'm also concerned about the potential lack of any music instruction for our students past elementary school, the reduction of access to foreign language classes, and less exposure for students to the content of the amazing FCS classes due to student choice. Schools should strive to provide a well-rounded education to all students, which aligns with both the Pennsylvania state standards on music, languages, and family and consumer sciences, as well as those of the National Association for Music Education and National Family and Consumer Science standards. A common refrain on social media is that they never taught XYZ life skill in school, but Pennsbury's FCS, digital literacy and media, and fitness and wellness programs are all designed to do just that, teach real-life skills. Our young students are being forced to choose between these programs, even potentially taking none of them due to the nature of choosing electives and the band and orchestra block scheduling in favor of an enforced non-academic intervention period for all students, even those who don't need it. The value of a varied curriculum cannot be overstated. Exposure to diverse academic disciplines allows students to gain a broader perspective, encouraging them to think innovatively and express themselves in unique ways. It can also provide students with
Thank you so much for sharing.
and careers they never thought possible.
Thank you.
So we have had an extraordinary number of community members come out tonight, and we've actually come to the 90-minute mark for public comment. We still have 3 more people who would like to speak to us, and so I'd like a motion from the board to extend.
Let them speak.
Yeah.
Second.
All right.
A motion to extend public comment.
So we'll just extend public comment, and the next speaker is Suzanne. Is it?
Do we need to take a vote?
Do we need to vote?
I think we need to vote. I think it has,
The board has discretion to apply its policies in the way that it would like. You could do it formally by voting, but I don't believe it's a strict necessity. I also think the agenda's been set, and adding it, is just an added level that's not necessary in this case. I think, as Dr. Steer said, because there's so many people here and the business portion of the meeting is relatively short tonight, and that there's only a few more public commenters, if the board in their discretion were willing to proceed, I don't know that you necessarily need to put that to a vote.
Let's move on.
Sorry. The next speaker is, it's squeezed in at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
Suzanne
Kalesa.
Kalesa.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My daughter, Ava Kalesa, is in 6th grade at Penwood, and it is a familiar tune that you will hear, but I'm going to try to bring up a couple of different perspectives. So when the elective announcement was made in February, she was stressed by the decision and the choices that she was having to make, because she was in band or orchestra and choral currently, and was scared about giving up anything. So in her own words, she wrote tonight that singing is a universal form of expression that holds creativity, builds confidence, and enhances teamwork. When students come together to sing, they not only hone their vocal skills, but also cultivate a strong sense of community. Reducing chorus to just one day limits these opportunities. Chorus offers students who may not play an instrument a chance to engage in music education. By providing chorus as a 2-day elective, we broaden access to the arts and encourage more students to discover their passion for music. When students meet for chorus twice a week, they can build up their skills and develop a deeper understanding of singing, collaborating, and all music in general. The other thing that I think has not been really brought up today is that the voice is the only free instrument that these kids have. And it was brought up that it was kind of an impossible choice that some of these kids were kind of faced with when having to choose between an instrument and chorus. They would have liked to have chosen both, but that wasn't really something they felt like they could do unless they forwent. You can check me on that. All these other things. And we also talk about the mental health crisis amongst our children and the isolated nature of their digital world. And music is one of those few things that does bring everybody together. There's even this phrase called collective effervescence that describes that feeling we all have when we're at a sporting event or whatever, and a song comes on and the entire stadium starts singing together. These kids experience that in their choral performances, and it gives them an endorphin rush that they desperately need, a sense of community and belonging that they desperately need. And while all the test scores measure their academic achievements, standards, there's no standardized test, or I don't know of one, that's really accurately assessing their mental well-being. And we know that there's a crisis. There's a lot of evidence about the mental crisis of our children because they are so isolated, they are so attached to these devices, and we're talking about reducing the availability of something that gives them community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Denise Alexander.
Good evening, Denise Alexander. I'm actually from Middletown Township, and I have probably a little bit of a unique perspective. So I am an educator, so I am a teacher and then an administrator for about 20 years, and a lifelong musician. So I'd like to comment on the proposed change in the middle school program. I understand the vital role that music plays in the lives of our youth. Music programs are not simply programs that are nice to have but expendable, especially in something like a middle school. For many children, music is a part of the school that really resonates with them, and for some of our students, these programs may be the only thing that does. It may be the outlet that they have and the one thing that they really feel like they excel at. Middle school can be a difficult time, socially, emotionally, and academically for many of our children. And as many of people have pointed out, the mental health crisis that exists with many of our children and the dire consequences that can come from neglecting to deal with that. And so now is really not the time to limit the potential opportunities and outlets for our middle schoolers and the programs that support their development. With that being said, vocal music is much more than just a therapeutic outlet. It provides students with many valuable skills that are transferable to academic areas and set them up for success in life. It teaches them the importance of discipline and regular practice in honing a skill, and that incremental improvements lead to great accomplishments. It provides them an opportunity to work as a team and to perform something that they can truly be proud of, and to be able to reflect on their accomplishments and to bolster their self-esteem. I'm not speaking of theoretical benefits, but from personal experience. Experience performing in front of others is arguably why I'm here today. Speaking in front of all of you is something that I feel like I got the experience firsthand in performing in a choir. And I will tell you that I am not naturally a very gifted musician, so I learned the value of hard work and perseverance. And I credit those lessons with providing me the mindset and the discipline to succeed throughout my academic career. And they were important factors in my numerous academic successes in middle school, high school, undergraduate, and graduate school. So I will end by saying this. I have worked with thousands of students in a variety of school settings. And I have worked in schools that have had minimal and sometimes non-existent vocal music programs. So I have been there. I have been there when we've tried to implement some academic programs that were working on test scores, and we tried to add in these extra periods of interventions. And what we succeeded in were additional behavioral referrals. We succeeded in additional referrals for counseling. I will tell you that the grass is not greener. The proposed changes to the vocal music program will have unintended consequences and will not benefit the students. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last public speaker tonight is Caleb Trezize.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Trezize. I live in the Newtown area, and I currently work for the Penwood and William Penn Middle Schools. I prepared a longer thing, and you all are tired, and I appreciate what you've done this evening. I've never been to a school board meeting, and I respect you so much more after going through this. So allow me to be short and to the point. First, I just want to commend administration for seeing the issue that recently arose in the elective selection, where we experienced a drop in course numbers, and you saw that and you attempted to fix that immediately. That's really amazing that you turned it around and attempted to fix that. I appreciate your posture, and I respect that so much. So thank you. However, there's some problems with our current proposal, and I'd like to just briefly address those, right? And you know what? I don't need to, because they did. So we're skipping that. We know the issues. The issues are simply that the instrumental program has way more time than us. We've now been reduced from 40% of class days to only 16% of class days, being 1 in 6 instead of 2 in 5. That makes for a really challenging setup with repetition of rehearsal. No choir that I know of, except for elite professional choirs, can hold up under that kind of rehearsal sequence. The only way to retain music at that level is if you are professionally competent enough to teach yourself the music outside of rehearsal time, show up to rehearsal maybe only a few days before the concert, run it with your group, and then perform it. If we have rehearsals every 2 weeks regularly because of that 6-day rotation and day off, or days off, where the rotation falls and kids are not going to be able to have chorus at least weekly, it makes it very challenging for them to retain that information. They're not professionals, they're amateur musicians, and we're fostering that gift and that experience for them. So I'm asking 2 things. We as a choral department and as all of the participants in the choral department, the students and the families, are asking for 2 things. We need at least 2 rehearsals in the 6-day rotation. We cannot have only 1. That's only what professional choirs do. We don't pay these kids, we serve them. That will bring our percentage of days in the year from 16% of days with choir to a meager 33%, which is not as great as the 50% that instrumental's getting, but it's a step in the right direction, and we would appreciate that gesture. Secondly, since we might gain time through that second rehearsal to bring it up to 33%, the only possible thing that comes to mind is adding sectional rehearsals, which I understand, Dr. Ricci, you've not promised, but you've remarked positively about the sectionals with us over the past several months, and we do appreciate that idea and would love to have that, as that is a great way to support the kids, provide a little bit extra rehearsal time, and then prepare them for the plenary full rehearsals twice in every 6 days. I took this job 3 years ago. When I took this job, it was my first, and I hope it will be my only, choir job. I hope to stay here the rest of my life. I am so proud of this program. I was when I joined, too. And I'm really scared for the future if we continue on the exact course of action that you've proposed. With all due respect, I beg you to reconsider and prioritize the vocal music program for the good of our students. We all are here for that reason, to prioritize and serve and love them. I hope that you'll consider what was said tonight and put it into action. Thank you.
Thank you. So I missed an arrow with a name in an unusual place. There is one last speaker, Sharon Moon.
I'm going to be very quick. I am a Pennsbury graduate. I have 3 children. They're all Pennsbury graduates. My son had ADHD. A Makefield teacher noticed it and told me. I was skeptical at first, actually. I thought, well, you're just trying to maybe snuff out a boy's boisterousness. He invited me to come watch my son in the classroom. My son was sitting on the heater. Apparently that was his special spot. I saw that he crawled under the desks. This teacher invited me to watch my son in after-school activities. I started to see there was a problem. I consulted with psychologists and got the diagnosis. My son took a medication and he looked at me one night over dinner and he said, "Mom, I can think." So it meant the world to me. I learned, as many parents of children with ADHD, that I have ADHD. I thought I was just careless. And the reason I'm here tonight is because we've heard that, there's an executive order to gut the Department of Education. DOJ has already gone through and I think eliminated $900 million, and that was money that went to research to find out things like, how do you recognize a student with ADHD? How do you help a child with disabilities? What's the best reading program? What works? Also, all of the statistics that allows us to measure our school and to know if we're doing well compared to equivalent districts. I was so fortunate with my son in Makefield in that the administrative staff was very helpful and he got some extra support for his ADHD, and I'm happy to report my son has a successful career. But if I had been in a different school district where they said, well, maybe he's just a problem kid and he just needs a detention, where I would have gone would have been to the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Education, which has also been gutted. I would have had a complaint, they would have investigated, that's gone now. And so what I'm here to ask you is, because I so admire you and much, having sat through this meeting and seen the kind of personal comments that you receive and also the length, and I know you're not getting paid $1 million to sit here. I'm so grateful, and I'm asking you as leaders, and I'm sure you're hearing about what's happening to the education in our state and in the country. As leaders, you're probably hearing a lot more than I am, and I'm just asking you to please speak out. Public education is a pillar of democracy, and all of you sitting here know so much more than I do, and your voices mean so much. I'm just going to quickly close with this quote: "If I'm not for me, who will be for me? And when I'm for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, when?" And I'm just asked, again, I just came to ask you all as leaders to speak out and support public education. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that really does close public comment at 10:37.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Oh,
Her
yes.
name.
Could you come back to the microphone?
I just want to make sure I hear your name.
My name's Sharon, and my last name's Moon, just like the moon in the sky, and I'm in Lower Makefield.
Thank you.
Mr. Waldorf suggested you ask if anyone else wants to say something.
Is there anyone else here who did not get to sign up and wants to speak?
Here, I can do it, John.
Hello, my name is Jay Chung. I live in LMT. Sorry, there was a Chromebook in the back that I signed up on without realizing there was also a piece of paper. Good evening, everyone. I'm a parent of 2 children in Pennsbury and 1 3-year-old who will soon attend Pennsbury. And I'm here to speak in regards to the impact the schedule changes will have on music in Pennsbury. This is my 16th year as an itinerant music teacher for the School District of Philadelphia. I spent the past 10 years teaching graduate and undergraduate music education courses at the University of the Arts, where several Pennsbury music teachers took my classes. I have taught in over 30 Philly schools, ranging from the top-ranking school in Pennsylvania, the top middle school, and also some of the most challenging schools in Philadelphia. In 2011, I had the amazing opportunity to meet with former President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden, and this was followed by a longer meeting with former U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan, along with all the Assistant Secretaries of Education. I say this not to brag about my experiences, but rather to indicate the value of music for our children and the power it holds to impact the community and the life of a child. It is the dialogue that was heard and understood at the highest level of our country. Music education is essential. It is not extra. It is not an embellishment of a child's education. It has the power to develop life skills and experiences that last a lifetime. These are experiences that go far beyond the four walls of the classroom. They're experiences that empower our children and shape their character. When provided the opportunity, it goes beyond any academic subject in many different ways. There's one common theme that I've experienced in the many schools I've taught in. All students love music. I've had so much success with the students that have been labeled as failing students. And even in some of the most at-risk students in school can find success in music. There have been so many times when students have told me that they're going to stay home from school that day, and they just remember they had a rehearsal with me and they chose to come to school. The emotional fulfillment and joy that they receive from music is like no other. It's this fulfillment that is essential for a child, especially if we expect them to succeed in other parts of the school day. For me, teaching music has given me an opportunity. Not only am I sharing what I love to do, but I'm teaching students to be better people through making music. Music teachers show students that if they work hard and practice, they can overcome challenges. More importantly, teachers show students that they have the potential to succeed at something, even when they may be struggling in all parts of their life or all parts of school. They can still succeed at something. Hard work and rehearsals can lead to accomplishment and performances. There's no other subject where this very concept is learned in such a public way that's displayed for family and friends to witness. Students from all walks of life, all demographics stand together to sing, they sit together to perform, to create. They create that very something that makes us human beings. They participate in an activity that has existed in every culture and every demographic. There's no other school subject where students can come together in this magnitude to create something. I've seen firsthand how music can change the lives and how music can make students better people. Although I believe, and I hope this is not the intention of the Pennsbury administration, the new schedule completely disregards the importance of music education. And this is the career that I've built. This is the children that I teach in Philadelphia, and it's no different than the children of Pennsbury. The proposed schedule allows choir teachers to rehearse 30 minutes every 6 days uninterrupted. A typical math class will meet 80 minutes every day, and that's 480 minutes every 6 days. So that's 30 minutes of choir every 6 days versus 480 of math every 6 days. Choir teachers are forced to rehearse, if choir teachers are forced to rehearse after school to save their programs, this will exclude students who want to do sports. It will lend itself to another situation where students will have to choose between two things that they love to fulfill their social and emotional needs. It will also prevent access to any students who come from working families, students who come home right after school to be there for a younger sibling. Even if a second choir rehearsal is offered during the enrichment period, it still forces students to choose between choir rehearsal or other things that they might love as well, as many other parents have stated today as well.
Thank you, sir, for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That really ends public comment at 10:43.
I have a bunch of questions, but I don't know the appropriate time, and so I have a bunch of questions.
I
but-
do too.
Board discussion?
We'll move on to the business portion of the meeting. Do I have a motion to table 10A settlement agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Do I have a motion to approve the remaining items as a consent agenda, items 4A through 9D.
I have a question about 8B.
Do I have a motion to pull?
Do you want to pull it, or you just want to talk and ask a question about it?
If it's true that the original policy was copied and pasted incorrectly, and we're having a read on, it's the one about employee complaints, right? Then shouldn't we table that until it's corrected?
I believe the issue, Dr. Brown, is it looks like you made the corrected version live. I think that's all it is, but both items are in the agenda, both the existing policy and the proposed new policy.
Okay. Yeah, during public comment, there was a suggestion about the history of policy 306. I think that was a reference to policy 326, which is on the agenda tonight.
Right.
And a suggestion about the history and that a previous version was adopted and then the wrong version posted on the website. And then a suggestion that you can't vote on this tonight, that there's a violation of the Sunshine Act or anything like that. Policy 326, this version that you would approve tonight was properly advertised to be on the agenda tonight. So regardless of the history of the policy, it's in the board's discretion to vote and approve that through.
Okay.
Yeah, and it would be a new policy.
It's a first
otherwise.
reading. We're not approving it
Correct.
tonight.
Right, it's a first read.
But I do think it needs to be reverted on the board docs.
Right. I think Chris Burdick does the uploads for that, correct, or no?
I did not update the active policy on board docs. There's just a draft that's attached to the agenda.
I'll show you what I mean.
Okay. Having had that discussion, do I have a motion to approve a consent agenda, items 4A through 9D?
So moved.
Second.
Now, do we have any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So that brings us to the board discussion portion of the evening. I know that a number of board members would like to speak. So.
Okay, I guess.
Donna, would you like to start?
I'll start. So we had a lot of parents come tonight and talk about academics versus music. So a few things. I grew up with a brother who was not academic at all, but he was awesome at playing the drums. And he, was not going to be going to college and all, but I got to say he's very successful right now. He runs his own trucking business. He's doing very well. And it wasn't about learning math in school, not that that's not important, but part of the reason that I'm able to sit here and speak is because I was in the chorus. And we had a choir teacher that taught us about enunciation and confidence and all the things that everybody talked about. So, thirdly, anybody who knows my husband Dave and I, we go to a lot of our school plays. We go to the middle school, we go to the high school, we're at like all the plays, and we love the drama and the chorus and all the musicals, okay? And then finally, while I haven't helped out this year, I often will help do prom murals. So art is very important, and everything. And I never went to art school. Whatever I learn when I do these murals, I learned in Pennsbury. So I agree with what the parents are saying. I agree that it's about being well-rounded. It's about confidence. It does give the kids belonging. I do think it's important. And we do enjoy the musicals, and I think that comes from, I was in musicals in middle school even, So maybe we need to reevaluate, like go back to the drawing board and reevaluate these schedules so that this can be included as much as music as the band is. And I don't know, I mean, I really think we have to do something here because the numbers just don't add up. Like that we're cutting back choir and singing so far. And just for the record, I was in choir, but I cannot sing. But they never kicked me out. I don't know why, okay? So I do think it gives a sense of belonging, and I just think we need to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate some of this.
Thank you. Josh?
Well, I don't want to one-up Donna, but I was the president of my concert choir back in high school and honors choir. So, and it did lead to my being in choir throughout my adult life. That's why Tuesday nights were important. When you had committee meetings on Tuesday nights, I don't get to sing. So I understand the euphoria that comes from that. And I took it and did a couple of plays over at Mercer at Kelsey Theater. So as an adult, and that I worked on one play with Lori Gower, who I guess is over at Afton or Edgewood as the music director. So I guess, and I apologize, are the schedules proposed and the original, the current schedule, are they on board docs? I was trying to look for them during the meeting, and I have to admit, I don't see even the current schedule. Is that something that can be added? I just wanted to be able to look at it. Just a question.
The presentation?
No, the schedule, like how it works. You guys, in the presentation, you showed, this is the schedule and this is the highlights of how it's going to change. I would appreciate if we could see that. I looked for board docs through the committee, I didn't see that. The other question I had, and I don't understand that, is that, is it maybe space or whatever, but can you do, it looked like band and orchestra were at the same time. And I thought the whole thing is people seem to be able now to do band, orchestra, and choir. Can you do all three at the same time, or no? I don't know in terms of the schedule. I just don't know. I apologize. The other question was, what are the electives in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade that they're choosing? Is it one time to do it in 6th grade, or you basically, or in 8th grade, 7th grade and 8th grade, these are the one-shot things, or you get to do them, you can, if you don't want to do it in 6th grade, you can do it in 7th grade, you can do it in 8th grade, or you miss out because you didn't do it in 6th grade. I'm just, again, I don't know if you can answer that, or it's just a question I've got for follow-up. The other question in terms of agency is that do we have to, and I also want to caveat here, as Dr. Ritchie knows, I am a big proponent of international languages, and I found it kind of crazy that as someone who started language in 6th grade, French, that we didn't have that. We waited till 8th grade, and that, so I understand the desire to have through 6th through 8th. I think that's really remarkable. So I just want to give a caveat that I've been pushing for that for a long time, so I like the fact that we're doing that. But I guess my question is, can 6th grade be a chance to experiment and not pick stuff, where you do things more in a trimester type of thing in 6th grade? And that you, I mean, I remember we had to do wood shop for a trimester, and then we had to do graphic arts at the time, and we had a third one throughout the year back when I was in, and we had 3 of those for our middle school years. And again, that's why I'm curious what the electives are, if they're locked in and you lose out if you don't take them. But can 6th grade be that experimental year where you end up getting the chance to do a bunch of stuff because it's part of your schedule? You're going to get, whether you like it or, well, not whether you like it or not, but you get a chance to explore. Is that a better way of describing it? A better chance to explore these different courses because we're breaking it up into thirds or quarters to give people an opportunity. And the last thing I want to say is you guys have worked very hard on this. You really have. And I know that sometimes we do share with the community that we're working on this for more than February. Like, we've been working on this for months. And we talk about it in meetings, and we talk about it in our presentations. So, but for a lot of people, it is a big surprise. And so hearing the feedback, it's a big challenge to come back and say, hey, can we do choir twice a week? and I don't know if that's possible. I know, again, people work very hard on this, and I assume right now you're already picking your classes, and that's where the biggest, we're at a rub now? I don't know, but I would, I do think if there's any way we can do choir twice a week, and again, I just again like to see the schedule. I appreciate it. I know everyone worked hard on it, but it seems like we're not necessarily thinking it 100% through. Or we're not looking at it at every angle. We did this with grades a while ago. We were giving there was a whole plan about doing 5.5 for certain grades. And do you remember the whole that we had this, right? And the committee looked at it and as soon as we made it public, I mean, people poked holes in it as quickly as possible, and we pulled back on it. And so I know that's one of the challenges. We've thrown something out, and people are finally getting a chance, and we're getting new perspectives. So, again, I want to commend you for your hard work, but I just want to know if we can at least get choir twice a week. Thank you.
So I will try to answer those questions. If I miss one, just let me know. So band and orchestra presently happen at the same time, and then chorus is at a different time. So kids can be in band or orchestra and chorus. That's a better way to say it. Band or orchestra and chorus. So the second question was with regard to the electives. In the menu was art, family and consumer science, digital literacy and media, fitness and wellness, band, orchestra, world language. So they can take them every year. You get 4 spaces. So you can take them every year. You could take them not at all, should you choose to. But you get 4 to fill up those spaces. The third question you asked was, is a 6th grade exploration possible? It is possible. We didn't plan for that. So in terms of being able to do that, it would set us back in terms of being able to build a schedule and have ramifications on the staffing process, but it is possible. And you asked about choir 2 times a week. Again, it is possible. There would be consequences with regard to the other goals and priorities of the committee. So, based on that, could you do it? Yes, you could do it, but you would compromise your interventions. There's a number of things within the schedule that could be pulled back to make that happen. There would just be consequences to the decision.
Is intervention today a specific period in middle school, or is it we literally pull a child out to get the intervention?
It all happens
or the
during
additional
the same,
support?
It all happens during the same 30-minute window during the school day. So it's not a class, like you have 4 classes and there's an opportunity period. So all of that happens during the same period of time.
That's what Dr. Ricci was saying earlier, when it's the opportunity period and all those competing interests. That last 30 minutes of the day, they have to squeeze in band or orchestra, chorus, their interventions, and any other things that they need to do. It's now all those things fighting for that time. So they tried to...
I would just like to add that all of our students, I know that this is separate from the music conversation, but just for our audience that doesn't know our schedule that well, the physical education will be in place for all of our students. That's outside of the elective period. The PE will be in place, PE and health will be in place for all of our students, as well as our STEM program. So we have increased our STEM program to be a full 90 days, and that will take place as well. So that includes things like graphics and wood and robotics, and some of our physics programming will take place during that time. So I don't want anybody to think that kids are choosing away from PE. We do have an additional elective in physical education for any student who would be interested in that, but that is like a separate thing. PE and health is going to continue to be part of the schedule for all, as well as STEM. It's not an elective.
I'm sorry for the length of the meeting, but this is the way the meetings used to be all the time. So this is just a throwback to these late meetings.
Do I have?
any other board members who would like to address an issue?
On a separate issue, I wanted to thank Nancy Allen and Feasible Glass Studios for their very generous donation. It's going to be greatly appreciated by the students who have opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have. I also wanted to, Dr. Smith, maybe you can address quickly the new open public records portal. Is that?
Sure. So obviously, we receive a number of right-to-know requests on a regular basis. Sometimes there's overlap with that. So anybody who is researching an item or wants information on an item, previous right-to-know requests will be listed on the portal. So they will be able to search and see if somebody else asked for this information, and you could see it. It also increases transparency, so if people can see what other people are right to knowing and asking for information about. So it'll be out there for anybody to see.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say the music and theater program at Pennsbury is very important to my family. My two very successful adult children got a lot of poise and confidence and success from the music program. So I am very supportive and want to do as much as we can. I also want to mention that over the weekend I took my two youngest grandkids to see the Addams Family, and it was spectacular. You would not have seen a better show on Broadway, and I commend the faculty and the students who are involved. I'm having a little trouble this evening, it's late, so thank you, and good night, and drive carefully, everybody.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.